It's time for This Week in Google. Jeff Jarvis is here. Matt Cutts from Google is here. We got so much to talk about. Let's just get the show started. This Week in Google is next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 306, recorded Wednesday, June 24th, 2015. From Kerfuffle to Brouhaha. This Week in Google is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/twig and using the promo code TWIG. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/twig. And by Squarespace. Squarespace is the best way to create a beautiful website or online store. Start your trial before June 30th to get a free year of custom email and business tools on their professional or business plan. Plus, enter the offer code TWIG and get 10% off. Squarespace. Build it beautiful. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google, the show where we cover really anything we want to cover, darn it, because we're that kind of show. Whatever's of interest. Here's Jeff Jarvis. He's a professor of journalism at the City University of New York. He's also the author of many a great book, including Public Parts, What Would Google Do? His latest is Geeks Bearing Gifts, all about the news biz. He also blogs at Buzz Machine.
Plugger there is.
I like to give you the plug, man, because you come here and you spend your day with us, and we are so grateful.
It's a pleasure. I'd do it for no money and no plugs, no nothing, just because of the pleasure of it and the fame and recognition in the world. And the chance to be with our next guest.
Oh, we love having Matt Cutts here, don't we? Matt Cutts is a Googler, one of the first. He's at mattcutts.com/blog. Hello, Matt.
Good to see everybody. How are you?
And we clarified before the show, but let me re-clarify. You are employed by Google. You speak for yourself, not for Google. Currently on leave, enjoying life. And apparently, somebody wrote an article, I guess it was on Bloomberg or somewhere, that this is not unusual, Google, that the really key employees, after a certain period of time, it's almost like a informal sabbatical.
Well, and I don't know what sort of arrangements they have for the rest of the bench, but Google's been very kind about letting me take the time off, and you know, they're not paying me salary or anything like that. So
you're not getting paid.
For a little while I was, but at this point I'm not. So I'm relatively cheap for them to keep around in the wings. If they want to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gosh, they should really give you a little something to keep you in house. Can I negotiate for you?
They should give you a pixel.
Well, so they are paying my health insurance, so that's not.
Oh, hey, that's not insignificant. Yeah.
But it still helps. Yeah. But yeah, maybe I'll ask for one of the new pixels. We'll
ask for a pixel, for crying out loud. It's nice to see you, Matt. Are you doing a 30-day challenge every month? Matt likes to do a 30-day challenge.
I am. A friend emailed me and he said, I'm doing a 30-day challenge where I take a cold shower every day. And I said,
no.
I said, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't I try that? And it was a horrible idea. But, you know, you take a cold shower and it's the worst thing that happens in the morning. And now everything else through the rest of the day will be better. And
that's such a Matt Cutts attitude. You know what I think, Matt? You're not a human. You're a Disney character.
If I get too pixelated, you'll know that I'm
look on the bright side of life. Yeah. You're amazing.
But so I'm on like day 5, and every day I sort of take a deep breath, and I'm sort of cussing the shower out.
What, you mean like ice cold?
It's cold. You turn it as cold as you can. It wakes you up. It's actually maybe good for your metabolism, and it's great for the philosophy of like, okay, I've done that. Now I can do the phone calls I need to make.
What proof do you have that this friend isn't just chortling that he got you to do this for 30 days straight?
I could be getting trolled. It's entirely possible he's trolling me.
Yeah, I'm betting on it.
If I may, one of the very distinct memories I have from when I was in elementary school and they showed you those old films, you know, the film roll or whatever in health health part of 5th grade or something like that, was a video about a guy who took cold showers every morning, and one of those mornings he gave himself a heart attack. Just saying, be careful, all right? I distinctly remember this video, and it's haunted me for my whole life, so I never take a cold shower because of it.
Jason, I thought you said you were the cold shower film was going to be part of sex ed.
No, thankfully
This
no.
is how you fix that. When you get a little too excited, you take a cold shower.
Well, all right. So there is. I remember reading that that's one way to lose weight. In fact, we met somebody who said that they lost weight that way. There's also this new trend of like super cold, like 200 below baths. Becky Wardley did this for Good Morning America recently. She was telling me about it, where you get it. I mean, it's really, really, really cold, like freezing cold.
And Robin Quivers of the Howard Stern Show just took some kind of cryotherapy.
Yeah, it's cryotherapy. That seems like coffee enemas, like not a good idea. If your friend says every day for the next month, I'm doing a coffee enema, can I just suggest you don't?
Well, the whole idea is you're always trying experiments, you know, and some of them are going to fail horribly. Like, I don't plan to keep taking cold showers.
You don't. You can bail, right?
I can, but, you know, it's a cold shower. It's 5 minutes, and then you're done. And so why not try something new? You know, maybe you'll pick up a new habit.
Sounds very Scotch, like Scottish. Scottish people would do this. I'm going to take a cold shower. It'll be great. And I'll feel manly.
Have you ever started one of these and before 30 days said, oh, F it?
Yeah.
You have?
No,
okay.
Well,
okay.
There's been some where I really suck. It turns out I can't meditate. Like, my brain doesn't. I try. I count leaves. And it's just.
I want to do that. I want to start meditating. I asked Lisa. She said you could do it when I'm sleeping.
She wasn't. I'm not around.
She said. I said, "Come on, we'll do it together." No. I'm going to go watch TV. You go meditate. All right. So cold showers. Wow. I don't know. I don't really want to do that. That sounds terrible. So did anybody listen to Mark Maron's podcast with the Prez?
No, I want to yet. I want to. Have you?
Not yet either.
No.
That's why it's only been downloaded 1 million times so far.
Yeah.
A million's a lot for a podcast. Sounds low for an interview with the president.
When are you going to get the president on Twitter?
Yeah, really, huh? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what the deal was. Maron's people approached the president. Maron said we didn't, we thought, what the heck? And then as it got more and more real, he said, then I was wondering, like, well, where do we do this? Do I go to Air Force One? Do I go to the Oval Office? And it turns out the president came to him, his garage, little tiny garage studio.
It's hilarious talking about the all the secret security, a sniper on the neighbor's roof, tents all around, and then crowds came out because they knew where he lives, so they wanted to come out and see the president.
Wow, you couldn't because the president pulled up in his limo into a tent, and then left the limo. It was completely out of sight as he entered the garage and left the garage. And of course, the media focused on the fact that the president, in a completely appropriate context, I might add, used the N-word. And that became the story, which is so typical.
And then Don Lemon did his Don Lemon-ness about it. Did you see that?
No, what did Lemon say? Don Lemon's the CNN
idiot.
CNN anchor.
I'm glad I can finally say it out loud because I thought, am I the only person who thinks this guy's a buffoon?
He held up a sign.
Held up a big sign that had the N-word on it.
Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Well, he is an African American. And he, by the way, got kicked off CNN Tonight. And that before it, though, he held up a Confederate flag. So there is some sort of interesting thing going on there.
This is what CNN calls intelligent.
Yeah. What do you think of this? Hey, what do you think of this?
Maron's a great guy. I forgot about this.
Love Mark Maron.
This recently. I was briefly a regular on his Air America show.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, long ago. Yeah. Not very briefly, weeks. But
we met him at a Stitcher Award event, spent some time backstage with him. He's very funny. He's actually a little neurotic, a little nervous, right? And I can only imagine how nervous he was about interviewing the president.
Oh, jeez.
But good on him, because what he did, it's funny, the same day I was in L.A. at the same time, to do the Nerdist podcast, and I had to apologize to Chris Hardwick. I said, I'm sorry, Mark Maron got the president. You got me. You kind of got the short end of the stick on this one, Chris. But Chris pointed out, he said, this was before we'd heard what they talked about. He said, he's going to make it personal. It won't be about politics. It'll be about, Mark really likes to talk to people about themselves. And I think that's, it's kind of the president's senior year, isn't it? He's almost done.
It's his. Well, that's why the name of the podcast is so perfect, because this is his WTF year.
Right.
I wish he would do a WTF and like get rid of guns.
I wouldn't be surprised if on the way out he does a few less than politic things. But remember, he's still the standard bearer for the party, which means he has to be careful because he doesn't want to screw it up for the Democrats. It's not so much the presidency; it's the House, and the Senate.
Yeah.
But how did we get into a political podcast? Oh yeah, that. So what is the status of your Project Phi invite, by the way?
So I look it up, and it says we're still deciding your status.
What do you mean deciding? What
your
is
status is we're working on your status.
So I'm going to enter in. So here's what you do: you go to where's
down to the bottom of that. There's a link that you can click through.
I hate pages where okay.
There we go.
There's my invites. We're still determining your status.
Yeah, that's what I got too. So
it's not really a status page.
No, it isn't. It's not very helpful.
Oh dear. But I will say, at least they're, I'm sure it will take a few days before they start to give info, but it's nice that they're at least letting you know how things stand now.
Yeah, sort of.
Or will someday.
Someday, at some point in the future, you will know how you stand.
Are you using Phi, Matt?
Well, now that it's launched, I can tell you that I have been testing Phi, and I really enjoy it. The Wi-Fi calling is really good because the audio, you'll have the Nexus 6 on Wi-Fi, and you don't need to use your cell phone, and that's been really, really nice. So I know a few of the people that work on it, so I'm a little biased, but I've got pretty good expectations for it. I think it'll go well.
I've been excited about this. Chris Michael in our chat room says he's actually watching right now on Phi. So it's Wi-Fi calling. It's T-Mobile and Sprint, a weird kind of dual SIM. It will choose the best of the three, Wi-Fi, T-Mobile, or Sprint, and use that for your data as well as your phone calls. It's not necessarily price competitive. In fact, it seems like it's pretty close to the same price as T-Mobile would be.
Well, and I think starting with Nexus 6, it's pretty smart because they're like, okay, let's start with just known hardware.
Right.
This gives them a chance to work all the kinks out, see all the corner cases, test out the billing and the statements. And then after that, who knows which direction they'll go. Maybe they'll support more different hardware. Maybe they'll, be able to make deals with other carriers. But I like the fact that it's a flat amount per gigabyte. And then if you don't use it all, they'll refund you back what you don't use. That's kind of nice.
That's better than anybody else does. You pay for just what you use, no more, no less. That's kind of like Ting did that. One of our advertisers.
Ting did that. Karma. I'm still waiting for my Karma.
Yeah.
They're finally passing tests, but they're supposed to come soon.
That's the MiFi device that gives you. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pressure to get away from this horrible rip you off for things you don't use.
There was a rumor, and I have yet to see it actually disproved, that the people who got the early invites to Phi were all people who did not own Nexus 6s.
Yeah, I don't know the truth. I can't confirm or deny that. That one I'm not sure about.
I think that's unlikely, but I do note that those of us like me and Jeff, and I presume you too, Jason Howell, who are holders, owners, legitimate owners of Nexus 6s, have not yet received our invite. And the several people I've talked to who have been using Google Fi had to buy Nexus 6s. Chris, did you have to buy a Nexus 6 to Chris Michael in the chat room to use Fi? He said others round up to a gig. Fi does fractional data, which is nice. Yeah, Chris Michael had to buy it.
I mean, totally unscientific in every regard. But I swear, yes, everyone that I hear that has it did not have a Nexus 6 and bought one for Phi.
Weird.
So I'm just saying, it seems that way. It's hard to prove it, but there you go.
I just want to say this, and I'm not looking for special things. I'm looking for nothing free. But it is kind of, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he said, what? You don't have you're on the show every week.
No, you know
talk about Google.
One would think, but I've been told in no uncertain terms by numbers of people that we're not going to give it to you in early testing. You'll just pan it. You know, they're worried that those of us who have a bully pulpit, if we have a bad experience, we could really ruin it for them.
Yeah, but that's not very googly. I think Google actually does care about, you know, hearing what doesn't work and making it better, and I think they're believable in that.
Yeah.
Because we know we're sophisticated enough to know that this is early. The reason they're doing it on one phone is you just said, Matt, to work the kinks out. It's a company that, unlike Detroit or someplace like that, it's a company that acknowledges kinks. That's the whole point.
Well, Matt, doesn't it? I don't know. Maybe you know, but doesn't it? It seems to me, if you're going to use two different carriers, that is going to require something special in the phone or in the OS. That is not something most phones can take a single SIM for two carriers.
True.
Well,
I would guess.
Just to have the radio where you can have all of the bands that are necessary. I mean, that alone, you know, is a big restriction, I would think. So, it does make sense that they're, you know, over time, more phones will support more bands, and we're getting closer to true world phones and all these sorts of things. But, you know, I think starting with a known set of hardware that they can sort of help on any part of the stack that goes wrong does make sense. But I'd love to see more people be able to get Fi quicker. I suspect another reason might be that they want to make sure I think they want to have really good support. And so if you roll it out too quickly, then you can't bring up and ramp up and train all the support people to be the level of quality that you need quickly enough.
Exactly. So you can find out if you what your status is, which is, I mean, actually you already probably know, but if we want to get official confirmation at fi.google.com/signup, I guess $U=1. I bet you don't need that. Let's just take that off. And yeah, if you just go to fi.google.com/signup, it will let you know if you've already signed up. If you haven't, it'll give you a chance to sign up, and then it'll say, we're still determining your status. Check back here. I was kind of hoping to get it before I left the States, just to see how it would work.
So I was so happy I got an email from Asus saying, would you like to test the Asus Flip, which I've been waiting for. I actually, once a week I search and say, is it for sale yet? And then I saw the stuff saying it's for sale yet. Then they sent me an email. And, oh, yeah. And it was, we'll send it to you on loan, but wink, wink, you can keep it. So I write back and I say, well, no, I'm a journalist. I want to buy one, but I'm happy to buy one early. I really want to get my hands on this. This is great. And they come back and they say, well, can you guarantee you'll write about it? I said, no, I'm a journalist. I said, oh, you were on the wrong list. You were on the educational list, which I mean, I guess education. Is no, we have a press list too. And yes, you can buy it. So I can't wait to get it. But yeah, I just want to try these things early.
By the way, some of our chat room, including Dr. Mom, go in there and they expect your invite in 3 to 4 weeks. So
yeah, some people do have concrete days coming. And so I just sent an email to one of the people I know on Fi and said, is there any way to speed up the invites for Leo Laporte, Jeff Jarvis, or Jason Howell?
Oh.
So we'll see whether,
Yeah, we're going to find out whether you've lost your clout in this leave thing.
Exactly. My Google Mojo might be, pretty much near the
clout
drain.
test.
So we'll see.
Clout test.
Clout test. They might be on vacation. Who knows? But I at least asked. It can't hurt to ask. So.
I love it. Thank you, Matt. You're really great. Let's see. What should we talk about? Hey, by the way, thank you, Google. Thanks to you, the new Twit website is secure. Google announced a little while ago that they would bump your ranking a little bit if you were an SSL secured website. And even though there's really not much reason that Twit should be SSL, there's not a whole lot of reason not to be either. I mean, except for the cost of the search.
Which is the point, I think, just make it a standard.
Yeah. And some people, when I mentioned this, said, you could make a case that somebody could do a man in the middle on Twit, and then when they downloaded, let's say, what they thought was a podcast, they'd actually be downloading some malicious software. So I guess any site where you're actually going to use that site to download something probably should be secure, including, I mean, the contents of the site, I guess. But the other thing that Twit was going to, show the page just because we spent so much money on it. Okay. The other thing. Let's look at that site again one more time. Just, boy, that looks good, doesn't it? The other thing Google was doing was the Mobilegeddon thing, and there's some results in on the results of Mobilegeddon. Adweek has some numbers. The Mobilegeddon challenge was to get websites to upgrade to a mobile responsive format. Yes, we are responsive as well. I don't think you really need Google's incentive to do that. I just looked at our stats, and I saw that
there's a lot of slow bozos out there.
I know, but if you look at your analytics, which we did, more than half of people coming to the site came in on a tablet or a mobile phone. So, if more than half your users are on small screens, you better well make your site responsive, regardless of what Google's index is going to do. But this certainly helps. Recent study of more than 1,000 important e-commerce keywords by MoveWeb. The percentage of mobile-friendly results in the top keyword position was 83%. When looking at the top 10 positions on page one as a whole, 77% mobile-friendly. So I don't know if that's an improvement.
That's the problem. Yeah, we don't know the delta.
Yeah,
but I would expect the world is moving to mobile friendly, because remember we did it the old way. We did it was you'd have two sites. In fact, I still do this on leoville.com, my blog, because I'm lazy, and it's a WordPress blog. I have two templates, and if WordPress senses you coming in on a mobile, it'll give you the mobile version, which is kind of a dopey way to do it, but that's the old way of doing it. Remember WAP?
Oh man, yeah.
What did that stand for?
Wireless access protocol, I thought.
Yeah, no, but there's a WAP browser. Oh yeah, you're right. Wireless application protocol. You're right. It was a standard for accessing information. But there was a WAP browser is a browser for mobile devices, and then you would make your website WAP compatible.
Oh yeah, God, I remember that.
Remember that?
For years, Google's mobile stuff was entirely half-time from one engineer. And I remember talking to this engineer, and she was like, there's just not a lot of mobile usage, so that's all the staffing we need right now. So
one half man year.
I love the idea that she's sitting off like in an island, the Hebrides, and then the next day she's queen.
Yeah. I am now in charge.
One half woman year, yeah. But it's kind of crazy. Like before I'd go on leave, we'd go and evaluate changes that we were going to make on Google's site, and we had to make a conscious effort to say mobile first. And so, the people in charge of the UI would say, don't show me what it looks like on a desktop first. Show me what it looks like on a phone or a tablet, and then later we'll look at what it looks like on a desktop. You have to make that shift, because there's so many people coming on mobile devices now.
I think our site actually looks better on mobile, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But the problem with talking about being mobile compatible is that it doesn't change enough. It still looks like it's a web page, a portal think, a content think,
right? And
make it work small, as opposed to what I argue is that what Google and Facebook understand is that mobile is a context generator, a signal generator for different use cases. And so just taking the thing you already do and making it fit on a small screen misses the whole point of, no, I want to stream, or I want a quick update, or I got an hour to kill. Let me immerse in something. These are different use cases for content, and we're not thinking that way at all in our business, in media.
By the way, Chris sent us a link to his Google Fi Nexus 6, and I guess you get a free external battery when you sign up for Fi. So his Nexus 6 is connected to the battery. He's watching the show while he chats.
Humble brag.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris.
I like
Chris,
it.
show off, Chris.
I like it. By the way, this is how nice it is with Google Photos. You could just take a picture, get a link, and send it to somebody, and that's what he did.
Oh, so somebody, Mark Trepagan, just said that he had a before and after. Nearly 50% of non-mobile friendly URLs dropped in rank. I'll put this on there.
So they went down because they were not mobile.
Yeah, so I just put it in the chat on the right.
Wow.
Thank you, Mark.
Wow. So this Mobilegeddon actually happened.
Sorry for mangling your name, Mark.
That's good.
Well, yeah. So Mobilegeddon, that's Eric Inge. He's a pretty well-known guy in the SEO space. And as I understand, and nicely unplugged from SEO these days. For Mobilegeddon, they had to bake stuff into the index. So a lot of the stuff, you can just flip a switch and you can turn it on within hours. I might be mistaken, but I think for Mobilegeddon, man, that's a terrible name. For the mobile ranking change, they had to sort of, make the determination, bake that into the index, and then at that point they can start to do the ranking changes. So sometimes those can take, 10 days to roll out if you're baking new stuff into the index, for example.
Yeah. This is a big deal. And it shows you how much power Google can wield. I mean, it was part of the consideration of why we're doing HTTPS, part of the consideration of why we made it mobile friendly. I mean, it was in our best interest to do both anyway. But
we try to support only stuff that would be a good idea anyway. But these sort of policy changes generate a lot of hot debate. For example, the story just came out this week about revenge porn and how Google will take it out of the index.
I don't know if you heard Twitter on Sunday, but we had a very good debate about that.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't heard that one yet.
I'll tell you my position on this. And it's when you use revenge porn, it's like using child porn. It's a non-controversial thing. Everybody thinks it's a bad idea. So I understand that nobody's going to say, "Oh, well, we should promote revenge porn." That's not. But what I am of the opinion that, and this is kind of a very purist point of view, and I'd love to hear what you think about it, Matt, that if the goal of a search engine, which I think it should be, is to reflect the web as it is, then it should do that purely algorithmically and without editorializing about some kinds of content. And if you don't like revenge porn, and no one's saying it's a good thing, or child porn or anything else, you should go to the source of it and shut that down. For Google to change the search results puts Google in a position as an arbiter of what's acceptable and not acceptable. And I think that's a risky thing. Now, Ben Thompson, very smart guy from Stratechery, argued the opposite. And I thought it was a good discussion. But I'd love to hear what you think of it.
Well, it's certainly true. There's that, and then there's the other aspect of it, which is the slippery slope, which is if you're willing to take action on revenge porn, then why don't you take action on this, why do you show the Confederate flag?
Right. I should not be able to search for the Confederate flag. Yeah, now what do you say?
Right. So I when I worked on Safe Search, we deliberately tried to make it only for pornographic content or non-family safe content. And when someone wanted to add another category, I would kind of lead them down this garden path of like, well, what about bomb making? What about anarchy? What about pro-anorexia? What about Wiccans? What about whatever, and it's interesting because after a few categories, people realize, oh, yeah, okay, now I can see the slippery slope in front of me.
Well, and furthermore, Safe Search is a checkbox. So I can decide not to use it. And I think you're putting that explicitly in the hands of the user is a great idea because the user can then opt in to see the whole web.
Right. But doing it, as you say, editorializing by default, those are the sorts of policy decisions that are very hotly debated within the company and between the search group and the legal group, and what are the right precedents to set versus, of course, no one wants anyone to be subject to sort of objectionable content in this case. Right. So there was a lot of internal debate, but
would you say it's fair? This is actually we don't have to go back through that debate, but. What is the goal of Google? I mean, the original goal was to organize all the world's information.
Make it universally accessible and useful. Yes.
I knew you couldn't leave that not finished.
Well, but that is a laudable goal. And I would underscore all the world's information there.
Well, and it's fun because we tend to be on the free speech absolutist side of things. I think Twitter has carved out a niche, whatever you want to say, even a little more. They say we're the free speech wing of the free speech party or something like that. Right. And I think the internet lends itself to that compared to Western Union or telecom carriers or that sort of thing. But yeah, it's also interesting to see the impact on people's lives and how do you balance those two different things is not an easy decision to make.
Well, very relevant to this discussion is David Drummond in Cannes just basically started Google war on ISIS and drew a line and said no to that kind of extremist video. It's another interesting use case.
Well, and it leads to the right to be forgotten, frankly, doesn't it?
It does. And also, and look at the other end of it. Look at Facebook. Facebook says no nude pictures, period. We don't care if you're breastfeeding. We don't care if it's newsworthy. No nude. Put it up in an instant article. Chris Cox said we take it down. No nudity. That's our rule. That's what we do. No nudity. I'm not wild about that, but at least it's a consistent rule, and I get it. And they're saying, here's our rule, and if you're a news organization, or if you're a club, or if you're a person, you have to accede to our rule, and that's what it is.
Right.
But there's also, Google is closer to a library. Facebook is more like a nightclub where they try to make an environment that's conducive to what they want. And that's fine, right? Like, people need a place to hang out and a place to talk about things. But at least at Google, we tend to want to be a reflection of the web as much as possible. So yeah, these changes tend to be few and far between.
You're right, Matt. But the issue now that's causing discussion is that with instant articles, with basically Facebook turning into a place where a publisher, frankly, could get rid of their back end, their CMS, their technology department, and say, what the heck? Let's just put everything on Facebook. We'll get 100% of the revenue we sell, 70% of what they sell. There's audience there. We don't have to be in the audience business. Let's do it. Then the fear is my friendly competitive colleague at Columbia, Emily Bell, says, whoa, then Facebook and Twitter become the press. And Facebook recognizes this as an issue. And that it's not part of Facebook's mission right now to have an informed public. But Facebook could be very soon the most important distributor of news in the world. What position does that put them in terms of any obligation they then have? And I don't say that I have the answer or that they have the answer yet. All I say about this is a good and important discussion to have, because once these platforms become distributors, do they take on, whether they choose to or not, some responsibility? What do you think?
Well, the notion that right to be forgotten, which in some sense is the terminal case in a lot of these sort of situations, is really interesting, because you see France and Canada sort of making the claim that you should do these sorts of removals worldwide. And then what do you do when you get, China, Russia, whatever kind of countries asking for similar things? And you talked about this last week with Danny Sullivan, but it's, Google, it's weird because people think it's an attack against Google in some cases, but in many ways it's an attack against the internet to say we want to have a splinternet. We want to have an internet divided by country. Yep. And a lot of people, I think, identify more as citizens of the internet than that strongly with, the pride of their particular country, which is a little interesting.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, is Google listening to you? Apparently it is. And some people aren't happy about that. This week at Google, Matt Cutts is here. Great to have you, Matt, Jeff Jarvis, and all of you in the chat room. And by the way, I guess it was Mark Trefagan who did that study.
Thank you for pronouncing that properly.
Well, I don't know. Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but they did that study of the Mobilegeddon results. And so we want to give, it's nice of him to come into the chat room and give us that link. And we want to mention the website, which is, now I've lost it. Was it
StoneTemple.com?
Stone Temple, I think, yeah.
And Mark's pretty active on Google Plus too.
Oh, okay.
Or social
Stone Temple Consulting, Digital Marketing Excellence.
Okay, good.
And I think one of those two guys is probably Mark. Not sure, but there you go. We're going to take a little break and talk about my mattress. You got the video of me bouncing on my mattress? I love my mattress. My Casper mattress. You would think it'd be crazy talk if somebody said, hey, we're going to sell mattresses on the internet. For the first of all, how are you going to ship them? Well, it turns out Casper's figured out a way to take that incredible American-made premium mattress with latex and memory foam, put it in a little box. They give you, there's a Tyvek sleeve, and they give you a little opener to open it up, and boom, whoosh, the mattress, as you can see, it inflates, and it's beautiful. It's great. And by the way, you might say, oh, is it going to smell like foam rubber or No, it's I don't know how they do it, but it's incredible. You get an amazing mattress. So there's problem number one solved by technology. Problem two is, how do you know if a mattress is going to suit you? I mean, you buy a mattress online. Don't you have to try before you buy? Well, I think the folks at Casper would say, and I would agree, that going to a mattress store and lying on a mattress in full daylight in front of a salesperson for 5 minutes is not really the way to find out whether a mattress is good or not. In fact, I have bought more than a few mattresses I didn't like once I got them home. You don't have to worry about that with Casper because you have 100 nights to try it, and you will get free delivery and painless returns, absolutely free, no cost to you if at any time in that first 100 nights you say, you know, it's not for me. So there's literally no risk to you. And it's so easy to buy and so affordable, too. These are premium mattresses that start at $500 for a twin. In fact, I'm going to make it even better with a $50 discount when you go to Casper.com, CASPER.com/twig, and use our promo code TWIG. Long-lasting comfort and support. I think they said guaranteed for 10 years, right? And, man, is it comfortable. We liked it so much we got one for Henry. And then Lisa's sister came and stole our mattress. Which is all right. I can't remember why. There was a good reason. So we're going to get another. I love it. You will too. Casper.com/twig. Use the promo code TWIG for $50 off. It's a bed that loves you back. And your back will love Casper. So I don't know where to start on this one. This comes from fullstack.info, blog post. Not okay, Google. Not okay. And actually, Google responded to this earlier yesterday. So here's the deal.
Let's be clear. Okay, go ahead.
Well, you want to tell?
No, you do it.
As you know, if you're using Chrome, you can, and you go to the Google search page. Let's do it. I can now talk to my browser. I can say, "Okay, Google," and it's listening and will respond. I could say, I don't know, maybe it's not turned on. And that's one issue. One point to make is that you do have to opt into that. There's a checkbox to opt into that. Well, it turns out open source advocates noted that this hot wording component was actually being shipped with Chromium, the open source version of Chrome, as a binary prepackaged. So you couldn't look at the code. You couldn't see what it was doing. Google's response to that issue when it was filed as a bug report is, yes, we download the hot word module on startup, but it's not activated unless you opt in.
And Google doesn't control Chromium, right?
Right. The code for activation is built into Chromium itself. But it isn't really, it is kind of not done to put a binary blob, especially a binary blob that can listen to you, into open source software. So after a little bit of a furor, Google yesterday, you're laughing at the word furor? Kerfuffle?
Kerfuffle.
Google announced that binary component is being removed from Chromium. It's not open source. It doesn't belong in the open source browser. So resolved.
Yeah, and much ado over not much, I would argue. Oh my God, Google's listening to you, and you know you're going to see this on stupid reports on the evening news, and it just doesn't help the techno-panic issues.
Or in privacy online news,
oh, God,
Google Chrome listening into your room shows the importance of privacy defense in depth. As you know,
just wrap your computer in tinfoil and everything will be okay.
As you know, in order to use this, Google has to send your sound back to the Google store to analyze it. They don't do it locally. That's true of, as far as I know, almost every speech program. You know, Siri does it. Google Now, Siri, Cortana. I mean, that's how they work because nobody had, you know, Microsoft's Connect. Well, actually, Connect has a few simple commands, I think, that don't get sent back.
I think Google does too, doesn't it, Matt?
Yeah, the voice recognition, if it's offline, does work. It's just not as good as if it can send it to the cloud.
Right.
But I think it's a fair point. Like, if you're using Debian, you want to be able to compile everything from the source code to know you're clean, and you're going to check the cryptographic signatures and everything. So, you know, fair point, good feedback. I'm really glad that Google made the change because, you know, if you're the kind of person who wants to use Chromium and open source instead of Chrome because, you know, you want to compile it all, then yeah, you don't want a binary blob on your device. So it took Google a little while longer than I'd like to reach the right decision, but I'm really glad that within a relatively short period of time they made that call.
Now, what if I'm using Debian and I want it? Can I download the blob?
I think so. I think you can Well, I'm not sure. I don't know how it'll be after this change, but you would hope so. I'm not sure though.
Now you'll have to have a note from your parents saying it's okay to use it.
It would be ironic if I like OK Google personally.
I do too. Yeah, and fair point, Matt, about that. But it's the kerfuffle around it. It's the conspiracy theories around it. Oh my God, Google's trying to listen to you. That's what just.
Well, yeah, and actually to Zelig, Ofer Zelig's credit, he, even though he does link to that privacy post, he doesn't actually go crazy about it. He says, No,
but Rick Falkenfinger did a bit.
Yeah, Rick did. But this is appropriate to raise this issue. Debian should be open source. Yeah. And this is a unknown kind of blob that actually has the ability to listen in. That shouldn't be part of the open source, and Google did exactly the right thing after a few days of kerfuffle.
The interesting thing is, even after that mistake, like that will now be a bullet point that gets used against Google forever and ever. And I think that's probably Jeff's point, and that's true. I have a mental image of like Kerfuffle is down here, Brouhaha is one notch up. If you put it into Brouhaha, it wasn't iPhone announcement level, but Brouhaha, I'd give it to you.
Yeah, it's not. It's definitely not antenna gate.
Cluster F, which is up here.
We need a little thermometer or something so we can gauge the amount of upset going on.
Yeah.
Tsuris. The Tsuris scale.
The righteous indignation meter, or RIM.
There ought to be something on, like you could just mine Twitter and figure out people are 7.9 annoyed about this thing versus only 2.7 annoyed about that thing.
There's sentiment analysis. On the people are doing. That's kind of an interesting subject, actually. Figure out what people are talking about. There's so many stories in here. Jeff, do you have one that you want to bring up?
Oh, jeez, there's just.
I know.
Well,
you want to talk about open containers? Go ahead.
Open containers. Where was that? I missed that one.
How about the pictures? Do you want to do the Inception?
I thought you might have put that in there. I really like this. It's really cool. Thank you, Matt, for putting this in here. This was from the Google Research. Oh, Jason did this? All right, Google Research blog. It's talking about neural networks. Neural networks are a form of artificial intelligence, computer software that learns. The way you teach it is just feed it stuff, feed it lots of stuff. And in this case, these neural networks, which are attempting to simulate the human brain, is being fed images. Actually, this is quite a good conversation of how this works. Image classification, speech recognition are two very big areas where neural networks are being used to try to, get better at this. And there's some really cool images in here of, I don't know, what are these, Matt? Would you explain what I'm looking at?
Well, you basically try to train a neural network, a deep neural network, to recognize specific things, whether it be ants or antelopes or dumbbells, and then you can turn it on its head and have the network sort of amplify things, or given one image, kind of take that and sort of build on it, and then it becomes self-reinforcing. And so
you're looking for the platonic ideal of fork or ant, or parachute or banana.
And then you could feed it back into itself, and then once it sees a little bit of a fork, it turns it into more of a fork. And so before you know it, you get this macro level structure, like a dog on one end and a fish on the other end, that actually looks like an object, because it could be plausible. And it's funny because a lot of people on Google were reading the comments on Reddit, and Reddit was sort of saying, this is exactly what acid looks like, man.
Well, there's something to be said. There's not merely a stoner talk in there. That's kind of what happens when your brain doesn't organize information very well because it's drugged. Well, that's what the neural network kind of is like.
This is your Google. This is your Google on drugs.
Yeah. So there might be actually some learnings about how the visual cortex works.
Yeah.
How it processes stuff, together with LSD or whatever.
But notice, by the way, these are images of dumbbells. It seems like no dumbbell is complete if you look closely without a muscular arm.
Yeah.
So there's dumbbells, but there's also arms in here. And when the computer sees those two linked, it says dumbbell. Might be hard to see a dumbbell without an arm holding it, though.
Right, and it only knows what it sees, and so if it never sees a dumbbell without an arm, then it's like, well,
of course,
that's got to be something else.
They go together. Wow, this is beautiful. This does look like you're on acid. This is wildebeests on acid, apparently. Wow, that is quite gorgeous.
The Seurat paintings are pretty cool.
Isn't that amazing? So, Georges Seurat, who was a pointillist,
it's all about pixels.
Yeah. Wow, is that neat? I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to be learned from that. Here's the sky. So these are the representations internally of the neural network. Here's that's
pretty
dog
crazy.
Snail
Love
thing
it.
you were talking about. Wow. Oh man, who needs drugs, man?
It's very, very Van Gogh.
Yeah, totally Van Gogh. Yeah.
But there is, I think there is something to be said of, if a brain is not doing a job of organizing the information in the brain, it probably does look a lot like a neural network, a very naive understanding. This is the Admiral dog, the pig snail, the camel bird, and the dogfish. Wow.
So I guess it also shows a little bit, deep neural networks, they're going to be popping up everywhere for, I think maybe Facebook did something where you can give it a caption and it will generate an image to match that. So, there's deep neural networks are going to show up in all kinds of places, in the next 5 years, not in the next 50 years.
Is this what they're using for face recognition, for instance?
I mean, Google Brain and the deep neural network stuff is used, I believe, but this might be a sub part, a different, branch of that. So.
Right.
That was really the lesson to me from I/O, Matt, is that Google Photos could only be done by Google because it has the kind of, and Facebook probably, but it has that kind of deep neural network computing power at scale.
Well, in fact, Facebook's getting in a little bit of hot water because they've released a interesting new product, which actually I like a lot, called Moments, which does face recognition on all the photos you've ever uploaded to Facebook, and then suggests maybe some people you'd like to share that with, which is pretty wild because it's recognizing, not only recognizing the face, but recognizing the connections inherent, and yet it's incredibly useful. These are pictures I took of a friend's niece. They all popped up together because, of course, they're all related. And it said, who would you like to share this with? It didn't know that it was Johnny's niece, but, of course, it made it much easier for me to share those, and I did, in fact, share those. But it did recognize, and this is what's wild, it recognized Lisa in these pictures in which she's wearing a jeweler's loop, and, I mean, she's wearing a helmet. And yet it knew each one of these. I mean, how did it know that was Lisa?
Apparently, Facebook says that they can recognize people with 83% accuracy, even if their face is obscured or there's hair over half.
I'll vouch for that.
So,
it recognized, I guess, her arms, her hands. I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
So, and I think that this must be something that got a problem that got solved in the last few years, and then that's why
there's so much more that could be done with facial recognition that both Google and Facebook are scared to death to show.
They're holding back.
And I think that's a pity because, again, the examples I always use is what could we do publicly about missing children and Alzheimer's patients, not to mention terrorists and criminals, and connections with people and relatives and all kinds of neat things. But, it's going to freak people out. Creepy line.
Right. I've just kind of, I've embraced Google at this point. I've given up fighting. I love you, Google. There really is something to be say that, that old joke, I for one accept our new overlords. There is at some point where you go, this is just so cool and so useful and so valuable that I'm not going to worry about the privacy concern.
There was a Slashdot thread in like 2001 where we rolled out something, and the Slashdot commenter was like, soon you'll take your Google to the Google in your Google, and then you'll Google on your Google with your Google in your Google.
In 2001, he was right.
And your car will be a Google car. And it was like,
see? Not so, I don't mind. And the problem is, and I guess you label as techno panic, Jeff. The problem is you can always come up with doomsday scenarios around anything. So it's easy to say, oh, well, you know what's next is the police are going to use the, they probably already are, use this to recognize faces on the street and in crowds, and they're going to, you know, they're going to be able to criminalize activity and say, we know you were in this crowd. Yeah, you can always create these doomsday scenarios. But does that mean you shouldn't do these things?
If we manage life to the worst things that could happen, we'll live in caves.
There you go. Thank you. That's exactly
Caves sound pretty dangerous to me, Jeff. I think we ought to live out
actually, yes. Bears get in there.
I don't want a cave.
They're dark.
Cave.
I'm scared of caves.
I don't like caves.
I thought the article about Google bringing fast Wi-Fi to cities is an interesting one, Leo, because it's kind of a similar thing. Like, Wi-Fi could be incredibly useful, but I can see where people who don't like or don't trust Google might be, aha, here's another brick in the wall kind of thing.
Your great minds think alike. That is exactly where I was going with this. This is the Sidewalks Labs startup that Google was talking about to make cities better. And their first project is to bring free, fast Wi-Fi to cities around the world. Now, what could be wrong with that?
Well, Leo, was it last week when you were talking about the announcement of Sidewalk Labs and you were saying, this is so generic, I could take, you know, Twit and insert my name and it would be the exact same announcement. So maybe
now we know what they're
Google,
up to. Yeah.
Yeah, they were listening and like, okay, we got to announce more concrete stuff so that they know what's happening.
Well, it was one of those do good things where, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's see what you plan. What are you thinking of? And this is a great one. So they're planning. This is from Bloomberg Business Week. Come September, tall, thin pillars with digital tablet interfaces and large ads slapped on the side will begin to replace New York City's derelict payphone booths.
And boy, are they derelict.
Yeah. In addition to offering free wireless internet access to anyone within 150 feet, they'll also have plugs for free phone charging, phone calling, internet browsing, and access to local services and information. And this is ad supported. In fact, it could bring the city $500 million in ad revenue.
Yeah. The one thing I hope for, so we now have Wi-Fi in scattered subway stops. So I just today I was doing this. Today I was rushing to get here. I got here in 10 minutes to spare.
Thank you.
And so I downloaded the Twig Rundown, wanted to download it onto my tablet.
Right.
But my tablet doesn't, so I had to use the Wi-Fi. But you have to do that stupid thing, like you have to sign on and say, no, I won't put up dirty pictures. And so it just takes forever. You're trying to catch a subway. You're on the station. No, there went the Wi-Fi.
Oh, no.
You know, and we've got to come up. I've said this before. We've got to come up with a universal way that I just say, okay, so as soon as I'm near that phone booth and I can go on the Wi-Fi, it just does it smoothly. This whole sign-on Megillah is a pain.
They don't have to do that?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
You know, I think that would be a fantastic thing to offer because how many times have you ever read what the hotel hotspot Wi-Fi says before you click I agree to your terms of service? But, you know, I think 75% of people would be like, I agree not to do anything criminal or maybe you just universally agree to these 10 principles, you know,
exactly.
I'm not going to harass anybody. And then you can just get on the Wi-Fi without any trouble at all. That would be wonderful.
So here's what these look like. This is from Fast Company, an Instagram shot of these new booths. This is the Link NYC Wi-Fi access point.
When I'm in New York.
Yeah. Doesn't that look cool? Can you zoom in a little bit on that, Jason?
Cool.
It's and so there's obviously some sort of interface in the front there, maps, that kind of thing.
And so wait, people are going to be standing there for a half an hour charging
their phones. Well, you know, if you need to make a call, just the fact that you could go somewhere and plug in the phone and make that call, you don't need to stand there and charge it, but just be able to make that call is worth it.
Oh, I know, I agree with that. Especially with Google Fi, it'll switch over to the Wi-Fi.
Right. So that's
and a lot of people, you know, might have trouble getting internet in their home, and so if you have a low income person who would normally go to the library, and you can just go down to the nearest lamppost or something, that would be wonderful.
This is a really good. So you're saying, Jeff, that there's still a lot of old phone booths just.
Yeah, they're not booths. They're the kind of, you know,
the hoods,
head to knees size things, right? But they're, you know, people have done bad things in them, and most of them are. I mean, they're not run by the phone company anymore. They're run by an independent company that, you know, is actually, I think, using wireless and just charging you. But it's rare you find a phone in them. They're still kind of there.
These are not unattractive, too. I mean,
no, that's the good thing is but you know what's going to happen?
The graffiti's not been applied yet.
A, we're going to graffiti. B, within 6 months, we're going to have stories about all of the bacteria on the touchscreen.
Don't touch it. Use a glove if you're going to.
And then we're going to have, and then you're going to be able to walk by and say, "Okay, Google," and then Google's listening to all of New York.
Yeah.
Which would be really fun to listen to.
Okay, phone booth.
Yeah.
This is good looking though, I gotta say, and they've even mounted a little light in the sidewalk to light it up. That's pretty.
The company is from Dan Doktorov, who was
former deputy mayor under Bloomberg,
head of Bloomberg, the business. Very smart guy, really cares about cities. Loves New York, and I think neat things will come out of this.
Well, this is the kind of thing too. You benefit from an urban aggregation of people. You can do stuff like this, and as you heard, it could make $500 million a year in ad revenue, just because there's so many people in New York City. You're not going to put that in Montana. Wow, that's pretty neat.
You've got balloons, and that's
there's other things for that. That's right. That's right. Google has launched a news lab to help journalists. I was wondering what you thought of this.
I can tell you about that. Well, in fact, I visited right after I was up the last time in Petaluma. I went down and visited the News Lab team. Steve Grove, YouTube and Google Plus. It's a great team of some great people. Olivia Ma, there's Steve right there. Daniel Seberg, Simon Rogers. They're all really great people. Now, this is part of what I see is the leapfrogging of Google and Facebook trying to make nice with publishers because publishers can be mean to them in Europe. Google started the digital news initiative with 8 publishers. They're, I think, about to see Sundar, and we'll see whether this moves to the product side. Facebook did instant articles, and I just saw a story up says that's finally going to take off beyond the test articles. Then Google comes back with Digital News Lab. Now, this is not, News Lab may be a bit of a misnomer. It develops some stuff. It did some new things on trending. It'll do things that are generally helpful. The aim of this is not to reinvent news and fix the news industry. It's more to help the news industry.
But imagine if you're not an official, reporter working for a major metropolitan daily, but in fact, just somebody who's interested in doing some digging. I mean, there's a lot of information.
There's good stuff here. They have smart people. Simon Rogers was a data viz guy at The Guardian, who then went to Twitter and got the hell out and is now at Google and is doing neat things there, and that's great. But this is the one thing I want to keep pushing Google on, though, is that this is an initiative of marketing and corporate relations with media companies, which is good. I'm all for it. It's wonderful. I still want to push farther than say that Google needs to take news into its heart in its product side. I'm sure Matt could confirm if it ain't product, it ain't nothing at Google. and so that's what I want to see next is how, not that Google is doing nice things for the industry, which is wonderful, but how do we find true mutual interest? Google wants to organize the world's knowledge and make it universally accessible, et cetera, et cetera. News is and an informed society are part of that mission. How does that become part of the heart of what Google does? So this is a good start, but I think there's a quantum leap that comes when it gets into the product side of Google.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of fun things you can do. I love the Google Trend searches you can do.
It's beautiful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. People, truth is, anybody who's watching should just dig into this. g.co/newslab.
They also announced they're working with Matter VC, which is an incubator or accelerator for media startups. What else are they doing? They're going to do training and other things. They had a launch party in the great YouTube space in New York 2 nights ago. So I'm delighted this is here, but being greedy and desperate news people, I'll say, okay, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Push for more.
Yeah. Oh, let's.
You could ask for Google to fight on your behalf when the government comes knocking and wants to subpoena information.
Boy, is that an amazing story. An awful story, but amazing story.
Let's take a break. We'll tell that story when we come back. Jeff Jarvis, Matt Cutts, Leo Laporte. This Week in Google is on the air. Our show today brought to you by our great friends at ZipRecruiter. If you're the person at your business who's got to hire people, you need to know about ZipRecruiter for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not immediately obvious what the best job site is. There's many of them, more than 100, and each has its own kind of specialty. ZipRecruiter lets you post to 100+ job listing sites and lots of the social media sites too, like Twitter and Facebook and Google+. And I tell you, it is amazing. Post your listing, and then the candidates roll in. Actually, you'll start getting candidates within the first few seconds because you're also being instantly matched to their database of over 4 million current resumes. So you'll get instant matches. Then more people. The good news is they aren't calling you. They're not calling your business. They're not emailing you. It all rolls into the ZipRecruiter interface, which makes it very easy to go through the candidates, to rank them, to select the one that's just right for you. 400,000 businesses now have used it, including ours, and you can try it for free. There's nothing more important than getting the right person for your company, getting a good match, getting somebody who really fits. And the more choices you have, the more likely you're going to find just that person. ZipRecruiter.com/twig. Your 4-day trial awaits. ZipRecruiter.com/twig. Try it free today. 100+ job boards. Boom. Boom goes the dynamite. We are talking Twig. We're talking Google. We're talking Facebook. We're talking big ideas, little ideas, all sorts of stuff. What is the story you started, but I'm not sure where you're going with that one. Jeff Jarvis, explain.
No, Matt, you were going to start to explain.
Maybe Matt should explain.
IO error.
I'm happy to start. Yeah. And Jason, I just pasted.
Wait a minute, Matt, you're sinking into your lower third. So can you? He's melting. He's melting.
2, 3.
Apologies about that.
Is your laptop in your lap, actually?
Yeah, I'm sort of bracing it on my knee. I don't have any furniture in this room.
Okay.
So there's an interesting story-fi. Basically, I'll try to summarize, and please no one sue me and no one at Google get angry if I do it wrong. But the U.S. government came to Google and said, we would like data on Jacob Applebaum, IO errors, data, his Gmail, and maybe other stuff, but the Gmail is the stuff that I read about. And Google tried to fight it. And along the way, Google got a gag order that said we're not allowed to discuss it with anyone. And so now, something like 5 years later, we're finally able to provide more information. So First Look published a 306-page legal document that's basically talking about all the steps that Google tried to take to protect Jacob's data. And of course, Jacob wasn't able to be apprised of the progress of that and what worked and didn't work when we fought that case in court. So the StoryFi link was interesting because I think Jacob sort of sent, he was live tweeting it as he was reading this legal disclosure.
Yeah.
So he's, there's one tweet where he's like, I feel like I should send flowers to Google's legal team. They must have spent hundreds of $1,000s on this case alone.
He says, I'm sure I have to say, using Gmail has been the best legal services investment I've ever made.
That's the amazing one.
So Jacob is, this was over WikiLeaks. Jacob's done so many things. He's a very well-known hacker and activist at IO Error on Twitter. And he was only apprised of this a few days ago. But it's been going on since 2009.
Yeah, which sort of, to me, violates all kinds of due process and the right to know and fight, against, stuff that's going on against you. But it was funny because I tweeted this, and at least 2 different people were like, okay, so the moral is never use Google for your email. And I think, no, that's exactly the wrong answer. The answer is Google will fight very hard, just like Twitter fought very hard to protect subscribers' privacy. But what needs to happen is, a new way of looking at some of these national security letters and these gag orders, because no one's claiming that, as far as I know, that Jacob is trying to, do terrorist type things. It's just he was sort of a player in this stuff going on with WikiLeaks. And you can actually see the government say, when we let Twitter talk about their disclosure, it generated a lot of problems for us, and so we don't want Google to be able to talk about it. And that's incredibly frustrating. Google or anybody else ought to be able to fight this stuff and not be gagged for 5 years. That's just incredibly excessive and uncalled for, in my opinion. But
so he's he also says, I don't think I'll ever be able to come back to the United States.
Yeah.
I did not feel safe.
They are clearly after him.
Yeah.
In huge ways. Yeah. It's an absurd. It's a document that's very disturbing about democracy.
He says he's being politically harassed, and you know, the government says that unsealing these orders has jeopardized their investigation. And Jacob says, "Yeah, it's hard to politically harass me when it's public." Just shameful, really shameful. So there you go.
But, you know, we need to there's these weird legal doctrines that date back to like ECPA, ECPA, like to the 80s that say, oh, if you have documents stored on a cloud server after 30 or 60 or 90 days, you know, clearly it wasn't private because in those days you would pull down your email. And so if you left your email on the server, it must not have been private.
Anything after 90 days is free game.
So practically no one does it that way. In a world in which people use Yahoo and Hotmail and Gmail, of course you should have to get a full subpoena, you know, and all the legal protection. Just because it's sitting in the cloud or on Google servers doesn't mean you don't want it to be protected from government scrutiny.
And as I'm fond of pointing out, this is the problem with writing laws to technologies. That law was written to the technology. Our constitutional right to privacy in our mail applies only to first-class mails and packages through the USPS. Whereas the law should be written to the principle that says the private communications are private unless, and there's a condition there about warrants and due process. But that's not the case, and that's why every other kind of private communication isn't truly private from government. And yes, I do care deeply about privacy, especially against government, the one entity, institution that can use your own life against you.
You got to read this article, and it's just kind of amazing.
And hats off to Google for fighting so hard.
Yeah,
with no one knowing, they could have just let it go and say, "Okay, subpoena, we acceded to it." Though it is in Google's interest not to have this be the precedent because Google wants.
Yeah, but as
to
far as
Google
knew, no one would ever know that they had done this, and
well, that's the other thing. Google also
$100,000.
fought to make it public.
Right.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Anyway, so. You're exactly spot on, Jeff. These laws do matter, and writing it so that it, you know, isn't obsoleted by technology really matters. So, and now that I've been a complete bummer, why don't we talk about free music supported by ads or something like that?
Read the story. It's you know, it's so important, and
it is.
Wow, that's the thing when people talk about kind of imaginary or potential threats. That's one thing, but these things are right in our faces. There's nothing to imagine about this. And, you know, maybe Google knows a lot about me, but the federal government has prison cells and guns. They have much more harm that they can do, and this is just shocking and very saddening. All right, free music. Let's go to Google Music, because you know what? Google Music got better and better, and they announced that they bought Songza some time ago, which I really liked. It was a free service that allowed you to listen to music like kind of a radio station based on your mood, the time of day, the concierge. And Google bought it, and they've now incorporated that into music, Google All Access Music. You got a free version with ad supported if you're not an All Access subscriber. But as far as I'm concerned, this is just yet another reason to subscribe. And you can see it says it's Wednesday afternoon. Play music. By the way, Google fixed this because for the longest time, this was in the Eastern time zone, so now it would say it's Wednesday evening. But Google fixed it, and they actually know where I am.
Because that's the center of the universe.
Yeah, right. For the longest time, it's, you know, I'd be in the afternoon and say it's Wednesday night. You're going out. So play music for getting out. Which do you want, gentlemen? Getting outside, entering beast mode, boosting your energy, brand new music, or having fun at work. And that's just the beginning, by the way. There's a lot more focusing and no lyrics. There's also stations based on your songs, recent activity. I've always liked I'm Feeling Lucky Radio, which takes the music that I've listened to and the music I own and makes a radio station for me. But you want to enter beast mode?
Yeah.
Let's get into beast mode. Do you want gritty hardcore rap, brutal bass drops, turnt up anthems? Is that a word? Turnt up anthems, greatest aggro anthems, adrenaline boosting fight music, or I think aggro anthems. Agro anthems, and now we can go to. And by the way, you see how far down I've gone? There's so many stations.
Agricultural anthems?
No, aggressive. Agro is aggressive. See the beast? Do you want 90s agro anthems? Welcome to the jungle radio or aughts. Let's listen to aughts agro anthems. Probably none of this is safe for work. Instead of punching a wall, unleash your inner beast with some angst-ridden OO thrashers, hard rock, emo punk, and aggro rap hits, not for the faint of heart or the library. Lose yourself, Eminem. There you go. That's not exactly. It's a good song.
He does grow over time.
I'm gonna get pumped up. Yeah, get spaghetti on my shirt and all that. Yeah.
I'll sometimes listen to it to get new music to run to, because I can't listen to Twig all the time. You don't create enough Twig for me to listen to.
We slow you down, I know.
Oh. Actually, yeah, I have, there's a station I listen to that's some really good new music. There's a lot of stuff in here. So this is Songza, and this is free. They'll do ad-supported, although I haven't listened to it for the free version because, frankly, I paid for it, but Google Music just gets better and better. There are some negatives to Google Music. You can only play on a certain number of devices, and they don't let you deactivate devices as much as you'd want. I'm sure those are restrictions imposed by the music industry.
They need to fix that, though. Like Jason, I feel your pain. That you can only deactivate for a year, 4 devices.
It's frustrating.
A year.
Yeah, because Jason and I both. Jason's probably worse than me, but we activate how many devices a year? 20 or 30?
I mean, it's gotten to the point. I mean, before, if I was reviewing a device, and mind you, obviously an edge case, right? Like we're reviewing devices. The majority of people are not doing that.
Yeah.
But, part of my way of reviewing devices is using a device as if it's my own. And I use Play Music all the time, but now that's not a part of my review process. So it kind of changes things a little bit because I can't afford to burn through those deauthorizations. Right. And what Play Music really needs, in my opinion, is Family Plan. And I think Apple did that right? With Apple Music, I think, what is it, $15 for a family plan?
$15.99. And Spotify's going to do that too.
That would help
a
lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good feedback. That's good feedback.
Yeah, this is because it's tied to your account. There's no way to share it with your family in any way because they would have then access to all your Gmail and everything else. But there's other restrictions. You can only, the weird one, and again, I think this is music industry. I love Google Music because I can upload my music to it. What is it, 50,000 songs? What's the limit now? It keeps going up.
I think it's 50,000 now,
which
is insane.
And the example I always give is that most of these services don't. The only place you can get the Beatles is from Apple's iTunes because the Beatles never did digital deals and still don't want to. Whoever owns the Beatles music today, I think it's Yoko. But if I bought Beatles music, I can upload it to my Google Music account, and now I can stream it. And so that's great. That's now part of my radio station's high-quality Google Music. So all of my songs are there, plus the 30 million other songs that they have access to. It's a really great service. But there's a weird restriction. I can't remember what the details are. I can't download my own music from them. I can do that, I think, twice. So it's not a backup. Don't think of it as a backup service. 3 times? Okay. It's not a backup service because you can't. It's not like you can always download your songs from it, which is weird because those are songs I own. But anyway, the intake is very much like Apple's new music system. You choose the genres you like: classical, hip hop, rap, and jazz.
Who has the best curated collections? I mean, Spotify's, I think, are very good.
Spotify's are excellent. I think Apple's going to be good. That's what Apple's focusing on, right? I don't know.
I'm surprised that they don't have, Scrobbler or Last.fm. Like, you ought to be able to subscribe to People or, rather than having some editorial person on staff paid in the cloud. Like, I would happily follow people who are cooler than me or my friends and just let them curate, good music.
Right. I like Sinatra and Jackson. I like Johann Sebastian Bach, as well as Pink Floyd. I like the Queen and the Rihanna, who is the Queen, the Stones and Bay. I'm sorry. lost my head there. So I have to go back and do this later. That's going to take forever to go through all of these artists. But you can see, and then basically what I'm doing is I'm customizing this, and then I'm going to get some radio stations.
The download thing that you were talking about, Leo, it's that you can download 2 times on the web, but if you use, it says here, the limit does not apply when you use Google Play Music for Chrome to download. So I'm not sure what the difference is, but you can get unlimited access to it. It just depends on how you do it.
Through the Chrome, if I have a subscription. All right. That's good to know.
Yeah, they probably didn't want people sharing an account and an entire school.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is.
Take your entire library.
Yeah. That's what it is. And it's, again, I don't think it's them. I think it's the record industry with your. And the thing is that each system seems to have different rules. So, I can deactivate, deauthorize stuff unlimited on one system and only once on others, and it's just very strange. See, now I have Beatles radio because I actually have I own the Beatles. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get that, right? And to their credit, they've got album art in there and similar music and so forth. I don't think I want to hear the Beat Alls, however. That's what you hear on other services. We don't have the Beatles. Perhaps you'd like to listen to this karaoke version of Hey Jude by the Beat Alls. That's not good. But look, I got the Quarrymen. That's the original. Yeah. Wow.
That must be from a compilation that you imported or something.
Yeah, that's some weird source of that. I like All Access. I actually ended up getting Spotify too, just because they carry our podcasts, and I wanted to support them. And I really like Spotify too. So there's some good choices, which makes it very difficult, frankly, for Apple to enter this market.
Did you all see the big news, probably from Google, the health tracking wristband?
No, yeah, okay. Yeah. Tell us about that. Is that real?
It is real. It's from it's from Google's X Life Sciences, and it's not a consumer device. But there's a lot of people who run clinical trials, and if you run a clinical trial, you want to know, their heart rate or their temperature, maybe their pulse oxygen level. And so it kind of sounds like they developed this for internal use, and now they're looking at whether they can make it available more widely.
They also do that. That's the same people who are doing the contact lens that can tell you what your blood sugar level is.
That's right. Yeah.
Very cool.
So you're not going to pick up one at Target or Walmart anytime soon, but to be able to run clinical trials and correlate this sort of data like skin temperature with whatever medicine you're taking could be pretty useful. So
very useful. I mean, having worn a Holter monitor, this is an old man moment, when they want to check your heart over some period of time, because I have atrial fibrillation, to be able to just do that and know that you can check anytime. And some people are asymptomatic with that. If the monitor could let you know this is going on when you don't know it. You know darn well that some of these things are going to be indicators of worse things to come, and you can get an alarm and alert. This is going to save people's lives.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's going to violate your privacy at the same time.
Yeah, I don't care. You can share my fibrillation with the world. I don't care. We know, I was just reading an article in the Times a couple of days ago that we've really drastically improved heart attack survival rates.
Isn't that amazing?
Not by any specialized technology, but just by getting people to treatment faster.
Yeah, just that the heart has like 90 minutes to recover, and if you get in before that, you can do it without damage. I was amazed by that. Of course, living in New York area, it's scary because God knows all the bozos who don't get out of the way for the ambulance.
Yeah, but that ties nicely in with these meters and so forth, because same thing with stroke. Your survival chances of a stroke are very, very good if you can get to you can get treated fast enough. So, having a little advanced knowledge of something bad about to happen can make a huge difference in survival rates and quality of life.
Earlier today we talked about computers and neural nets making cool pictures or doing face recognition, but if you've got sensors that are ambient noise and temperature and all this sort of stuff, and maybe it's possible to detect things like heart attacks. Now, because it's medical, maybe it would just show you an alert or a notification on your phone, and then you'll have to decide whether you call the ambulance or something. But, there's no reason you couldn't use that sort of, intelligence or machine learning to maybe help save people's lives or get them medical attention much faster.
Oh, I love it. So here's a story from The Verge about, now that we've done all the happy news, Google Photos and the unguessable URL. So actually, this is probably good news.
Yeah, it is.
A user on Reddit said, I was browsing through my photos and I wanted to see the full size of an image, so I right-clicked it, which gave me a link. Even when I'm in incognito mode, that link is public. I haven't shared it, but anybody who knew what the link was could see it. Now, of course, this is a kind of security that is kind of frowned upon. It's called security by obscurity because the URL is incredibly, it's 40 characters. It's 10 to the 70th combinations. So it's highly unlikely that somebody could guess an individual URL. On the other hand, I should point out that it wouldn't be hard to just start generating random links and seeing what you find. So it'd be hard to find your picture, but a picture, not so hard. Web traffic is encrypted. So as you're looking at a photo, you have to worry about somebody in the coffee shop. But most importantly, the photo isn't at that URL until you specifically say, let's look at that photo. So I think it's probably okay.
Well, and it also sounds like, reading through the article, they don't put the photo at that URL until you do a right click on it.
Right.
So the photo isn't accessible until you do a right click and ask for a URL.
Right. And then Google also keeps an eye on how many they rate limits the requests. So if suddenly some address is asking for 1 million different photo URLs, they're going to block it.
Let me understand that, Matt. So basically, the URL doesn't exist until the user generates it by right-clicking.
Right.
I believe that's right. I believe that's correct. And I've been annoyed the other direction, where I wanted to share. I wanted Google to host my photo for me, and so I got a URL that was on Google Photos and or before Google Photos, it was just on Drive. And after fetching it 5 or 6 or 20 times to make sure that it would be safe, I think Google rate limited, and so I had to pull the image down and host it myself. So I think they are putting some good protections in place.
How many people looked at that picture before it?
Well, I'm paranoid, so when I do a blog post, I was going to host it on Drive, and so I reloaded my blog post a bunch, and then at some point it failed, and it failed from then on. And so just to be safe, it's multiple steps to pull it down so that it's hosted on your own. I wish you could say, well, maybe now you can make this public, and then anyone can see it.
That would be nice. Yeah, right now you have to download it to your computer, then put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's not rate limited. Well, go ahead.
If you think about it, this feature of Google Photos, the fact that you can share a link with friends or family,
that's huge for me.
Or on Facebook is incredibly useful, and the only way to do that is to make that URL available somewhere. So they try to obfuscate it, but it's sort of built in that you need that.
It's got to be a public URL. I like the idea that I can share collections. I'm going to use this as I travel. I've been looking. It's so funny because I've been looking at all different ways to share pictures, and the easiest thing for me is just have photos automatically uploaded to Google Photos, and then I can use the automatic collections or make new collections and share them on my blog or wherever else I want. That's kind of cool. So if you hit the share button, this is a collection. If you hit the share button, we've always had Google+, but now Facebook and Twitter are there, but you can also just get this shareable link. And now this is generating that unusual link. And this is
there a difference between a collection and a story? They were calling it stories.
I think it's the same thing now.
Stories are not collections.
Yeah. So if I do a new tab, let's do this and see. In fact, let me do a new incognito tab so it doesn't even know it's me.
Jeff, I think a story might involve that animation of you're going from place to place.
No, I think this does that. Sure. These collections do that. Okay. Yeah. So this is what it calls a collection now, and it's just like stories, right?
Yeah, it's just like stories. There.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So I love this, but I just shared this with an incognito link.
Plus cooties.
Yeah. So I mean, isn't that sweet? I mean, this is going to be great. But you're saying, and that's something to keep in mind, Matt. If I put that link on my blog, it might get rate limited pretty quick.
It could, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're just sharing with family, then
Facebook would probably be okay.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I would think. Yeah.
That was pretty great. My daughter's high school graduation, it did that automatically, and it was pretty wonderful.
I really love this this capability, and this is an auto awesome.
That's good.
You know, I mean, it just. I mean, I didn't do anything, and of course now with the new photos, you can create your own stories and collections, whatever you want to call them, and put music behind them, and you know, fancy them up. So I think this is great. I'm really happy about this.
Would you get rate limited before if you posted one of these stories to like Google Plus? I wouldn't think that you would.
I never had anybody say, "Oh, I can't see it."
Right. So I wonder what the difference is there.
I think I was getting rate limited when I was trying to load an image on Google Drive. So I'm probably completely different, and I'll bet Google's smart. And if you've got like 20 different IP addresses, then it's like, oh, real people are looking at it. Whereas if it's like the same IP address 30 times in a row, then they're like, oh, this is some dumb bot.
Yeah. Okay.
Me, okay. I was the dumb bot.
You were the dumb bot. Well, I'll try it. I'll put all my. I'm gonna share my stuff up to leoville.net. Google is. If you thought your Pixel was expensive, now there's a $2,000 Chrome box, but
yeah,
there's good reason for it. It's for meetings, and you know, for people who've spent upwards of $100,000 on special Cisco teleconference rooms, this seems like a pretty good darn deal. Allows groups of up to 20 people in meeting rooms, but you do need this Chrome box. It provides pan, tilt, zoom camera features. That's nice. Additional mics and speakers for the groups. Improved support for dual screen setups. This is for $2,000. This is pretty sweet. The PTZ camera means you can actually, I presume, aim the camera, right, at different people. That's really nice. Acer makes
I think probably a lot of people are thinking about consumer-grade webcams, and they're like, oh, I should pay $100. But for businesses who are used to Tandberg machines and stuff like that, this is really pretty cheap or inexpensive for a product like that. So
what a great use for a Chromebox. You're using Hangouts right now, Matt, with us.
Yeah. And Google does a lot of its video conferencing with a very similar product.
Interesting.
So, yeah. For a long time, we were like one of the top customers of a very expensive video conferencing system. And so I think it might have been partly trying to save money for ourselves that motivated, or was part of the motivation for this.
Right. Peanut in our chat room says, if you're worried about a link becoming compromised, you can also, talking backwards about the Google Collections thing, you can delete that shared link. It no longer exists. So you really do have control over it. Look, there's some Type-C connectors. I love those. Give me more.
Oh, I can't wait for more. I just can't wait for more.
Love them.
You know, I can't wait for the day when you go to a Google meeting and the connector for everybody is a Type-C connector.
Oh, what a life that's going to be. Yeah.
Oh.
Someday.
And the new phones will have them. Oh, I can't wait.
Everything.
So good.
Apparently, there is one Android phone now, a European phone that has a Type-C connector.
Oh, really?
Yeah, already. I think Google's basically said that's what's going to happen, right? So,
didn't the OnePlus 2 announce that they're...
Are they doing Type-C?
Yeah, that was their latest announcement.
They're dribbing that one out one feature at a time.
I know it really annoys you, Leo, but I went to go check it out, and I was like, ooh, that is actually interesting.
That's a good yeah, they got you. It's good marketing. Good marketing can be simultaneously annoying and effective.
Yes. More park sausages, Mom.
That's a good example, actually.
Well, it's not very informative, but
we should buy this. So you can get a large room bundle or a small room bundle. Up to 8 people for this. We should get this for our. So that was the one we saw set up was a small room, but the large room has the PTZ.
Could you handle that as a instead of using a PC, use that as a?
We currently in our conference room have set up a big screen connected to a PC with a camera, and we would just use Skype, but we could use Hangouts too. I mean, it's basically this.
I'm also asking for the Skype machine that
for the show
handling Matt.
No.
Yeah, that handles Matt right now for Hangouts. Could you use that instead?
Yeah. What about it?
I mean, but Leo is such a power user. Like,
we're not.
But for a regular business, I think you can really do the job. Yeah.
Wow, look who's on here, Mike Elgin. Before you buy. What is that? Oh, I'm sorry. That's YouTube giving me more information. So I'm going to paste the link. The chat room said, paste the link in here to your collection. Let's see if it's rate limited. All right, chat room, have at it. We'll find out if that's rate limited.
if it can keep up with the twit comment stream, then yeah, it's not very limited.
This is sweet. All right, everybody, click that link. Look at my photo. Tell me.
I want to know about the bear in that photo.
There's a bear? Oh, that's not a bear. That's Lucille.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute. Let me. Are you talking about
Lucille the bear?
This was the Giants game, and we were at the ballpark. Okay, and the Giants mascot, who is Lucille. See, she's got 2 rings. She came and snuck up on me while I was doing a selfie. It was like, I feel the cold touch of a furry hand, and then
by a bear.
And then she posed for pictures. She's the Giant. That's the Giants stadium mascot, Lucille.
Just revealed I don't know about sports ball. So.
You don't, apparently. You've never been to a Giants game?
I haven't. I should.
I think we could remedy that, Matt. I want to take you to a ball game. Have you ever had a hot dog, Matt? Have you ever had a hot dog that's been cooking since spring training, Matt?
I'm missing out on these vital experiences. Call yourself an American? Come on.
What is that bear in the picture, he says?
Oh, dear.
That's Lou. See, actually, I'm calling her. I think it's a he, Lou Seal. Yeah. I love how it handled the videos in this and how it handled some animated GIFs and stuff that it made automatically. This is just really nicely done, I think. I love stories/collections. So.
You know, someone at Google right now is like, what is happening with this link? We're melting all the servers. What's happening?
I can't see how many Who Ate My Tuna is asking, why is there so many food handles in our chat room? Peanut and Who Ate My Tuna. Creamy corn cob. Why did, I don't know how many people can look at my shared collection. I don't know any way to do that. So everybody hit that sucker. Hit that hard.
It'd be nice if it would tell you, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Toad Sloth says he has a spinning circle. Maybe it's slowing down now.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
We're breaking it. Let's break Google. Everybody chime in. Android Wear gets new watch faces from Hello Kitty. Take that, Apple Watch. Take that.
And Angry Bird. Don't forget Angry Bird.
Are these official?
Yeah, these are official.
Wow. What does that mean, official?
I mean, they're from
they're on the store.
Hello Kitty from Sanrio.
Oh, it's Sanrio approved.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. All the new faces go live in the Play Store.
Still no Mickey Mouse.
Hello Kitty. Are they animated? Can Mickey tap his toe? That's the question. Can the kitty tap her toe?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I want a Lucille watch.
I didn't install a Hello Kitty watch face.
You didn't?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? How about Moods of Norway featuring a tractor? There you go. Terminator Genesis. Yeah, these are Rovios. These are all official, aren't they? Because that was one knock kind of on the original Android Wear was that, you could get a Rolex, but it's not from Rolex. Right. This is an official Rubik's Cube from Rubik.
2 stars.
Wait a minute. You could actually solve it? Wait a minute. What the heck? That's crazy talk. This is exactly what Apple didn't want. Oh, well. I'm still loving Android Wear, I have to say.
I am too.
I am wearing an Apple Watch. I'll probably wear the Apple Watch to Europe. I don't know why. AirDroid got in a little bit of trouble. You probably talked about this last night on All About Android.
No, we
Jason.
didn't actually.
Yeah.
I think I saw this this morning.
So AirDroid, which I've used and we've recommended, I think it was even probably a pick on App Arena, certainly a pick on
it's been on the
Twig many times, is an app that lets you connect to your phone from your desktop and vice versa. It has been apparently removed from the Play Store. The AirDroid, this is from a story in Android Police. The AirDroid team said, I don't know what happened. Google had removed the listing after a mass complaint from Facebook. The sweeping set of complaints picked up tons of apps with WhatsApp in their name, but also apps like AirDroid that simply mentioned WhatsApp in the description. So Facebook was asserting trademark infringement. The reason given to AirDroid was alleged trademark infringement. And here's the reason for suspension. Does AirDroid, it passes along notifications from WhatsApp. It doesn't replace WhatsApp.
This is a little tough, though, because you don't want apps in the Play Store that, say, Bejeweled, and they're actually spammers or something.
It's a huge
like that.
problem. In fact, that's one of the things Microsoft has not done well in the Windows Phone store. There's a lot of fake apps in there. And actually, Google's done a good job on Android.
It does say that after about 40 minutes,
they reinstated
Google re-reviewed the situation.
Yep.
So, that's better than, not reinstating it.
Yeah.
It's still suboptimal.
In fact, this is another one of them happy stories with a happy ending.
It's all happy stories today.
It's a happy story today. Google did the right thing. People freaked. They shouldn't have. This is barely kerfuffle.
Where does it fall in the kerfuffle meter?
Hardly a brouhaha. Definitely not a fracas.
That's totally a kerfuffle. Yeah.
Well, how many words are there for kerfuffle? There are quite a few.
Yeah.
Brouhaha, kerfuffle, fracas.
Ah, yes. Fracas.
Fracas.
No, not quite.
Oh well.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
And so let's talk about OnePlus. So the OnePlus 2, the way they're doing this is they're leaking out one feature at a time. OnePlus says that's just good marketing, and I have to say it. I guess it is just good marketing. It's certainly getting a lot of attention. They just want to build community. They told 9 to 5 Google. We're just trying to build community. So we know two things right now. It's going to be a Qualcomm 810, which is the latest Snapdragon. Actually, one that was eschewed by Samsung for its Galaxy S6 because it used so much power and was so hot. HTC used it in the M19 or the M9, and but they downclocked it so it wouldn't burn up the phone. So the OnePlus 2 will have. Let's see if they've added anything to this spec here. Well, let me see if I can find it. Where is that on the?
It's not going to be cyanogen anymore, right?
Right.
No, it'll be Oxygen OS.
And I actually like Oxygen.
I do too.
I put it on my OnePlus One. I'm very happy with it. It's as pure an Android as you can get. I miss a few of the little features of Cyanogen Mod, but not much. OnePlus 2.
Really all we know right now is the 810, Snapdragon 810 V2.1. So maybe, I guess I don't know about V2.1. I don't know if maybe that addresses the heat issues.
Maybe. And Type-C.
And then Type-C.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Very happy about that.
USB Type-C.
I would buy a phone just because it was Type-C. Yes. Seriously.
That's awesome.
Yep. And it's a very nice lollipop.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Oxygen is very nice. Google told to expect large fines.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I'll just be taking a drink while you all talk about this.
Expect large fines. This is the European Union. It, of course, is investigating Google for antitrust violations. And the commission has reached the preliminary conclusion that Google's practice of positioning, displaying more favorably in its general search result pages, its own comparison shopping service, which doesn't exist anymore, compared to competing comparison shopping services, constitutes an abuse by Google in the relevant markets for general search
and the total
services.
Business of said comparison shopping services is probably engrosses a tenth of what they're thinking of charge. Fine. It's ridiculous. Yeah. It is a witch hunt. It is why people are not going to invest in Europe.
Large
It's going to do far more damage.
And as Danny Sullivan said on Search Engine Land and on this show, this is how search engines work.
Yeah.
You're going to find us for...
And by the way, let me say this to my friends in the commies of Europe. It's how capitalism works.
Yeah.
You promote your stuff. Yes.
Yeah. And,
Boy, talking about Europe disliking the internet, the freedom of panorama, that was another interesting article that came out.
That's a really bad one. I added that to the rundown.
All right, let's go to that article from Medium. What is freedom of panorama?
Well, it allows you to take a picture. Go ahead, Matt.
Can you take a picture of artworks that are permanently installed outdoors? Like the whole idea that you can't use those pictures which you took from a public place, you know, for commercial purposes or whatever. Like, if you read through the Medium article, it says that, you know, Wikimedia and Wikicommons type stuff, they often don't have pictures of some of these buildings or artwork or whatever, because it's not clear that they have the right to use it. And
so this color map of Europe shows how different countries handle this. Countries that are yellow have freedom of panorama for non-commercial use only. Countries that are red have no mention of freedom of panorama. So, in other words, presumably you could copyright, let's say, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and then, what does that mean? No one could take a picture of it and put it anywhere?
Pretty much. You can't. Yeah. What it does is it kills the definition of public.
Right.
This is what I wrote about in Public Parts. Pardon me for the plug, but it matters greatly. Is that what's public is owned by the public.
Right.
And when you diminish that, you diminish the property of the public. So the idea that you can't. This is the problem with Google Street View. The principle is that you can, from a public place, to take a picture of a public thing and to share that is fine. And now this limits it and says, no, you have to have the permission of that which you're picturing in the public. Thus, it's not public.
It looks like the places I'm going are all in green, which means I have freedom of panorama. So I'm going to.
Jeff, I hope I'm not. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Jeff, I hope I'm not stepping on your number, but it sounds like Wikimedia Commons has a category full of deletion requests related to freedom of panorama. There have been nearly 100 images deleted of the Louvre pyramid alone.
I had no idea. I had no idea it was that bad.
Who are these morons?
Oh, jeez.
Oh. So the Eiffel Tower copyright. The good news is, get this. It's this crazy. So the Eiffel Tower was built in 1909, so or earlier. So its copyright has expired. However, the lighting displays are considered original visual creations. So you can take a picture of the Eiffel Tower, but not of the lighting display on the Eiffel Tower.
That's insane.
You can't do the pyramid entrance to the Louvre because that's copyrighted. These are all blacked out copyrighted images.
Matt's absolutely right. This is a matter of free speech. This means that you cannot picture to the world.
Well, can't we just do massive civil disobedience here? Let's just all take pictures of the Eiffel Tower light show and put it up on Google.
Yep.
Screw them.
Well, and I think it is for commercial use. So if you're a photographer, you can't put it on a poster. But at the fact where you can't have it in Wikipedia because the licensing isn't clear,
right?
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. That's the real issue, is that Wikipedia is very careful and doesn't want to violate rights. And so,
because everybody, I know when I want to use a photo that has rights, I know I can use it from the Wikimedia Commons.
But if I show my pictures on Twit,
that's commercial use.
That's commercial use. So when I come back
for you, bud.
Civil disobedience.
I'm having a slideshow. Damn it.
Fight the man, Leo.
Fight the man.
You know what's worse, Matt? Is because now we know the Google photo can identify specific things like Eiffel Tower at night. Watch, there will be subpoenas
that's what worries
for it to eliminate all images of blank.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're up!
All right, I am now going to commit an act of civil disobedience. That's the butt of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm showing it on commercial television. God darn it. By the way, I found that with a Google Photos search. I know I have other pictures of the Eiffel Tower.
There's another horrible decision.
Yeah.
Which is the Human Rights Court now says that sites are liable for user comments. Now, granted, Europe never had the Section 250 that we have. And is it 250? No, what's the number?
Doesn't matter.
230D, I think. And yeah,
there's Big Ben. Take that. Big Ben, baby. I'm sorry, the Elizabeth Tower containing the Big Ben bell. Take that. I don't know what that is. That is a copyright water tower. I don't know. I typed in Eiffel and I got this. I don't know. I'm sorry. Continue on. I didn't mean to derail.
I was actually interrupting you.
That's 2 counts, Leo. 2 counts.
2 counts. Civil disobedience.
You're not. Yeah, you're not going to. You're gonna go. You're never coming back from Europe.
In Petaluma, we have a giant feed silo called the Eiffel Tower, apparently. So there you go. There's
that alone. That's coming down.
That's coming down.
That is coming down. Petaluma.
Now I wonder if what in the United States? Can I take a picture of Mount Rushmore?
Yeah, because what's public is public.
Public is public.
You can take pictures. I mean, that's also the principle that allows you to take pictures of police doing what they do in public.
Oh, good luck trying that.
Well, you have a legal right to do so.
I know I do, but go ahead and tell them.
But I've been to Pebble Beach, and they try to say that you can't take a picture of the one tree on Pebble Beach.
You're kidding.
And they're like, no. They're saying we control the rights to that tree or something. I don't know what the legal status is, but...
This is the picture that got me banned from Egypt forever. That's it. You can't come back. Cannot come back. I think he's telling that guy, go shoot that guy over there. I don't like him. All right. That is so weird. I've always thought that's a little odd, but so for non-commercial, if you're just taking a snapshot as a tourist, that's okay.
Well, but is putting it on Facebook a commercial use?
Is it?
They're going to make advertising money on it.
Uh-oh. Facebook needs to block it then.
Yeah, so I'm just looking it up. Pebble Beach on 17 Mile Drive.
That's the Lone Pine out there.
Yeah, the Lone Cypress.
Cypress,
They
that's
claim
what it is.
trademark on the cypress, yes.
Oh, my God.
Which is... Or, yeah, I think it's now fallen down or been blown over, but...
Serves them right.
That cypress, yeah.
Serves them right. Well, let's see. Let's go. Yeah, see, they have a picture on Wikipedia of the lone cypress. So...
Not for long.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to get you busted, Wikipedia, but...
But I'll post a link into the chat about... There's a New York Times article about, whether or not this tree can be protected from... Denied permission to photograph the tree for his business. A commercial photographer was denied.
Well, I guess the argument in this case is is the golf course a public place?
No, it's a private entity.
It's private, but apparently they say it's not the physical ownership of the tree, but the ownership of the intellectual concept of the tree.
Oh my!
So maybe we shouldn't bash Europe all the time. Maybe some of this stuff happens here.
Well, no, come back, California. California is Europe light.
What? Oh, you New Yorkers! I swear. Hey,
right, so I want to go back to because I think it's important real quickly. The Human Rights Court says that sites are liable for user comments. What we have in the United States is Section 230 that says that there's a safe harbor that does not make you liable.
Now,
this also it's a huge decision.
We talked about this on Mike Masnick did a great article on Tech Dirt about this. But we talked about it on on Sunday, and Tom Merritt told me that one of his chat mods, T2T2, is from, where was it? Estonia. And said that decision by the European court applied only to Estonian law. So it was not the blanket decision that we thought it might be.
Right, but... It's a troubling decision, and it's a precedent at a larger level. That's what worries me.
Right.
Whittle. He
was, and I don't know, but he was of the opinion that this isn't as broad or as concerning a decision from the European Court of Human Rights because it applies specifically to Estonia.
Right, and when you've got freedom of expression, and then you also have the human rights aspect, and it sounds like most of this decision was on the human rights aspect, but I agree with Jeff. It's a really scary precedent and a very slippery slope to go down. So
I didn't mean to interrupt your smooth segue into a commercial, but
do you want to talk about Twitter at all?
I want to know. Can you explain, Lucy? Can you explain it to me? Explain lightning.
Lightning.
Oh no,
I can explain it. Actually, it's a smart thing. First of all, I think that I don't know what happened to poor old Dick Costolo, but I feel like, it's interesting. We had, again, this was another good conversation on Sunday's Twit. Ben Thompson pointed out that it was Costolo who ousted the third-party developers at Twitter. He's made a lot of boneheaded moves. Jack Dorsey's back, but and his beard are back, but only temporarily. Twitter says we need a full-time CEO. The board says, more importantly, we don't. And Jack says I'm gonna split my time as he did before with Square and Twitter crossing the street and on odd days or whatever it is. So there's some debate over whether Dick Costolo was a sacrificial lamb to appease the market. If that was the case, they didn't really accomplish their goals because the market went up, then went right back down. Or if he really was legitimately not running Twitter well. But one of the initiatives that he had spearheaded and was apparently very excited about, even though he knew he was being ousted as CEO, is this Lightning thing. And if you, to me, I'll tell you what I think of. If you think of what is the most useful, Twitter has lots of uses and really is kind of, and one of the problems with discussing Twitter is it really depends on each individual uses it in different ways. So if Twitter is useful to you because of the way you've crafted your followers or or the people you follow or whatever, that's great. But what Twitter mostly seems to be useful for is live events. Where do we go when there's breaking news, or Ferguson is erupting, or the Arab Spring is going on? Well, we go there to find the news. The problem is the news is intermingled with people's lunches and weird diatribes against stuff nobody ever heard of, and it's all mushed up. So Lightning is going to be part of the Explore tab, and I haven't seen it yet, but my understanding is it will be human curated, which I think is very interesting, live events. So during the Oscars, there'd be a Lightning page that's human curated pictures from the Oscars, tweets about the Oscars, tweets by people at the Oscars. Same thing if there's a big news event, World Cup, whatever. That seems to me to be Twitter trying to show people this is what it's really good at. It seems to be to me, that is one of the real great things Twitter does well. So that's my explanation of it.
Thank you.
Does that make sense? Now, Wired said Twitter is killing Twitter to save Twitter. I don't think it's killing Twitter to do Lightning. Well,
I took a bunch of German executives around, if I told you this, stop me, a few weeks ago. And when I went to smart places like Vox and Quartz and places like that, as we entered the room, they would say to these publishers and editors, you may all be on Twitter, but pointing out to the world, they're on Facebook.
They're not. Twitter's only 17%? I can't remember what the number is, but it's very small.
We tend to think it's the center of the universe, but it's not. So I have an infestation of ants. That's why I've been going crazy trying to kill ants.
Are they itching you?
I don't know.
So what makes sense to me about Lightning is and this is one of the problems Ben Thompson pointed out, that Twitter...
Europe is sending ants to Jeff.
27 with one blow, ladies and gentlemen. He's the Taylor of New Jersey. That was nicely done, Jeff.
I'm waiting for the show to get off so I can get some spray. They're everywhere.
The bane.
Saving their lives by talking.
Bane. Yes, let's save some ant lives. It makes sense that Twitter would do this because you could go without even being signed into Twitter and see what's going on. It doesn't make sense because the value of Twitter comes from the signals they get. And this was, again, a great insight from Ben Thompson. The signals they get from signed-on users, right? Same reason Google created Google+. The signal of attention is not useful unless you know who it is, and it becomes more and more useful as you aggregate material around that. So this Lightning might be a good idea, but if it means you don't have to log into Twitter to get value out of Twitter, it might have the wrong effect. Remains to be seen how they implement it. I think it's a great idea. Now, it's something I would use. It's kind of like Trends, only better, right? Mm-hmm. It's live, it's streaming, it's human curated, which I think is very interesting.
But that's also a cost structure. That's part of the...
Well, it's not only a cost structure, it's this whole thing we were talking about with editorializing. So what if it's during the Oscar ceremony and ABC says to Twitter, we would take it to very kindly if you had nobody in there who said anything bad about the Oscars. In fact, Samsung here has given us some money, so if you could put more pictures of Samsung devices... I don't know why I do that with my nose when I talk.
I was wondering.
It's supposed to go with a wise guy. We would take very kindly to the notion of you not in any way upsetting our apple cart. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if anybody has. I don't know if it's out there. It's supposedly be part of the Explore tab.
There's all kinds of neat stuff going on. You know, there's it's Instagram's new discovery thing.
Yeah.
There's also
Discovery's a big deal if you're one of these social networks, isn't it? Isn't that what Facebook tries to do automatically with its algorithm? Is like surface a Facebook that you would enjoy?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do.
Well, Storeful and YouTube doing a feed of news, of verified news videos that better beats TV.
Mm-hmm.
There's neat stuff happening.
Yeah.
In this area of curated, whether human or algorithmically curated content of what's going on now, where in streams.
I couldn't be happier. I feel like I never have to contemplate my own death ever again because there's so much entertaining stuff on the internet. I can be distracted forever now.
Oh my!
That's
Matt
wonderful.
got it.
Yeah.
I'm distracted to death. Neil Postman. All right, let's. So anything you have to say about that, Mr. Jeffrey Jarvis?
About
Twitter?
What?
The Twitter?
No. You said what I wanted to hear.
Which is that it was.
I mean, the Dick story is interesting. I mean, I've always liked Dick. He's funny.
I feel bad for him,
but it hasn't been a happy place to work. I hear.
Yeah.
And you know, they have done some odd things. They've done some great things over the years. They've stood up for free speech. As you said earlier, or what I think Matt said, it's the free speech wing of the free speech party. God bless them for that. But they also kind of threw developers under the bus. They've done odd things. You don't know what to expect from them. You don't know what it is. Nonetheless, at the end of the day, give him credit. He took a company that was being laughed at because it had no business model whatsoever and has serious revenue and serious value there. And so give Dick credit for that. And now Twitter's probably going to find some new path, and we'll see what that is.
Right. It's interesting, though, how everybody's going to some sort of curated feed, whether algorithmically or...
I think stream... I mean, okay, here's my going too far statement, my tweet on this, is that we moved from a page-based web to a stream-based web.
Right.
And that's not fully true. We'll always have pages. We'll have sites. But the idea of an attention stream, and obviously...
Twitter invented that, though, right?
And mobile has a lot to do with the adoption of that. You know,
I feel like if that was my main insight from Twitter, and maybe 8 years ago, was I even wrote a blog post because I wanted to do something like it, was that Twitter, you know, initially on Twitter, I felt like I had to read every post and go back in time.
Yes.
And then at some point I had the final realization, oh no, you just dip in and out, whatever's going on right now.
It's like a New Yorker cartoon. No, I can't come to bed. I haven't finished reading Twitter.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I haven't got to the end of the internet yet. And so you quickly realize the internet does this to you, that there's too much, so you just dip in and you enjoy what you read, but you don't feel like you don't have to worry about what you missed. And that kind of content stream is a whole different way of thinking of stuff. Imagine if you only, like every time you got a book, you would just open it up, read a few pages and close it and never look at it again.
Then Amazon wouldn't pay you for anybody reading it.
But that's kind of what we do with the internet. The internet is a book only half read.
Well, I mean, now it becomes a war for attention. And I'm not sure that's the end of the game. I think that people can game that, and often efficiency matters. Google doesn't go so much for your attention, but for informing you and being useful and having you come back often. But right now, there's a lot of efforts to grab attention with streams.
You're giving. Go ahead.
Oh, just a lot of sites are constructing, you know, reasons and ways for you to spend more time. I suspect Google, in my experience, at least the search team, cares more about, okay, how do we win the trust and the reputation rather than win the attention? Because if you have the trust and the reputation, then people will still come to you when they need help or need answers. So,
yeah.
But, you know, absolutely. My wife, you know, will surf and then, well, okay, I'm done with the internet. I've spent all the time. I've read everything on Facebook. So if Facebook can invent new things to read, watch, you know, or share, or the same with Twitter, then that benefits their bottom line, I'm sure.
I think we've covered the news in thorough detail, have we not?
Yeah. Well, one more thing I'd like to mention.
Your friend Bill Gross's printer.
Oh, yes, just got an award.
I saw you tweeted him 13 seconds ago. I'm thinking, wow, is this man a multitasker? Of course, I'm reading Twitter.
Attention to the show. Yes.
I couldn't really call you on it because I was reading Twitter at the time.
It's very neat. It's the $399 3D printer from New Matter.
Neat.
And it's really neat. Yeah. I can't wait to get mine.
$399.
Yeah.
Are you into that? No, wait a minute. Didn't you get that pen that you would draw things in the air?
I did. That. Yeah, that didn't last forever.
So now you want to do 3D.
I know what's going to happen. My wife and my children are going to look at me and say, "What did you do now?" Charlie, excuse me. Ant!
Ah, you could 3D print an ant killer. Jeez Louise. They're just ants. This is reminding me of...
Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants.
Wasn't it...
That's Archer.
Anyway, here's the printer from newmatter.com. $399. It looks cool.
It also is... It's constructed differently so that the base moves...
Oh,
and the head stays.
The head stays and the base goes.
Really brilliant. Yeah.
These things look very cool. I just want to tell people it's not as easy as it looks.
No. Well, but what's also going to be interesting is you're going to have open source creation.
Right.
It's hard for me to. I mean, my family will make fun of me, but it's basically me being nice to Bill Gross and signing up early. And it's hard to imagine journalistic uses of this. But who knows? Recreate something.
Have you guys seen the 3D printer that was announced at TED, Carbon 3D?
No, tell us about it.
Months ago. It's actually extremely cool. Basically, instead of laying things down very slowly, it uses a light above, and it it uses a light below, and it can pull out of the liquid very quickly. So it's got the potential to be much, much faster. And
what's really great for the show. Sorry, Matt.
Oh yeah, no, and the guy who is one of the main principals went to UNC, or he's a chemistry professor at UNC Chapel Hill, which is where I went to grad school, which is why I was interested. And so it actually looks like you can do all kinds of different materials and continuous and
speed,
a lot of really
much faster scale, right?
Yes,
much
absolutely.
Faster.
So it's technically there's an oxygen permeable layer. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm sorry. You were saying the actual interesting stuff. No, I just want to joke. If Leo finds the video, we can give kind of a violation here because, I'm sorry, I see another ant. It's the Eiffel Tower. So,
yes.
Is this what you're talking about? This Carbon 3D?
That's it. The interesting thing is that the light shines from below, and there's an oxygen permeable layer where basically instead of having to go down, print, go back up, and all this sort of stuff, it just kind of pulls all out in one continuous mechanism. And so I was in the audience, and it was printing while he was talking, and a 3D printer I've never seen move that fast. And so it actually has a lot. It's not just like, fluff. There's a lot of real world potential on this one.
And I interrupted you, Matt. How does it do it again?
Okay, so there's an oxygen permeable layer. And basically, it's ants. They get a ton of ants. They combine with the squirrels. They make scaffolding, and you can actually read on the website. It's Carbon 3D. But I know a friend from Google who went to work there. So it's at the point where they're able to poach some people from Google.
Wow. Yeah, there must be.
As well.
That is very cool because I tell you, one of the big issues with printing, of course, is speed.
Yes. They're so slow.
Yeah, you don't really realize. I mean, this all looks great on the website, and then you get it, and it's like,
overnight. Yeah.
What do you end up with? A chess piece. Whee!
Right. Woohoo! Well, I expect you to print a lot of interesting stuff, Jeff. Will you?
I'm going to try to take it to school and have people look at me and say, "Well, that's cool. What's that?"
Yeah. We've had a few, and I always donate them to schools because that's a great thing for kids to. Hey, from Scooter X in our chat room, some very good news. The Wireless Power Consortium, which runs the Qi power standard, has announced that Qi will soon have basically the equivalent of Qualcomm's Quick Charge, which means wireless charging, which is, speaking of slow, notoriously slow, will now be fast. Wireless chargers will be able to deliver as much as 15 watts to phones. Yeah.
Nice.
So anybody I love wireless charging. That's to me, because I have a little stand, and I put the phone in the stand at night, and it charges. That'll be very nice. So just quick story. Let's take a break. Come back.
Wait. One quick story I want to mention. Just want to mention.
Yes.
Because I want to, may it rest in peace, but Circa is no more.
Oh, we forgot. Yeah.
And I'm very sorry to see that.
I meant to ask you about that right at the top.
Circa, for those of you who don't know, is a site that cut news up into pieces. And so it allowed a couple of important things. One, it knew what you knew. So this is really important. It was the only news site that then told you what you didn't know, because it knew what you'd already read. And second, it allowed you to follow stories, which is a way to give permission to get alerts when something new happened in a story you cared about. Now, as a consumer proposition, it would have required a lot more investment because they needed to have you, if you want to follow all the stories you care about, they had to have enough people writing stories in this new way. That didn't happen. Or it could have been a new CMS, content management system, for the news business and rethink how we do things in an age of alerts and updates and stuff. But that would mean having to change the news industry. We know how hard that is. So it was really insightful and important. And I, in all full disclosure here, I introduced them to a lot of companies, trying to hope that somebody would buy them. And nobody had the foresight to do so, because there were important insights and experience here that I guarantee you we will come back in a year or two and say, just like with Google Wave, we'll say, darn, alerts are now using a lot of things that Circa used to do. And so salute to the team. Sorry this happened. It sucks. But know that what you thought about in the future of news will indeed be used in the future. So I just wanted to get that in there just to pay tribute to them. That was it.
Yeah, it was an app on iOS and Android. They had a website. Circa was circanews.com. I remember Ben Ha, who was one of the, I think, the funders and the founders.
Yes.
At a, I think it was a food camp, saying we want to reinvent news and let's all get together and talk about what should news be. So I remember at the very beginning of that.
It was also penance for what Cheeseburger did to
yeah, Ben was the creator of I Can Has Cheeseburger. Yeah. Yeah, I love Circa, and it is sad to see that not make it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's take a break. Your picks, final numbers, that kind of thing, the back of the book coming up. But first, a word from the best place to create your next beautiful website or online store. It's squarespace.com. Very proud, to have been part of the success of Squarespace right from the very beginning. We were one of the first places they ever did ads, and we were so impressed. One of the things that we always used to do and still do is try to bring a Squarespace site to its knees, and you just can't, because it's the best, most robust hosting there is. Even if every single person watching this show right now went to a Squarespace site, you couldn't bring it down. We love it. But on top of that, you also have this incredible software that lets you make a beautiful site with absolutely no technical background at all. I think that's a really valuable thing to bring to the world. All Squarespace sites are mobile responsive. Don't have to worry about mobile getting. They all have e-commerce built in. Even the basic plan has e-commerce built in. Of course, their support is incredible, 24/7, right from their offices in New York. So responsive design, beautiful sites, very reliable web hosting, and as little as $8 a month. That is incredible. Start your free trial right now. You don't need to even give them a credit card. Just go to squarespace.com and click the Get Started button. If you do it before the end of the month, before June 30th, you'll get a free year of custom email and business tools if you sign up for the Squarespace Business or Professional plan after your free trial. And, of course, no matter what you sign up for, please use the offer code TWIG, and you'll get 10% off. And show your support for This Week in Google. They have been so great, such great supporters of TWIT for so many years, and we're so glad to be part of their success. They've just knocked it out of the park. Squarespace.com. You will love them. Use the offer code TWIG for 10% off. And don't forget, that deal ends in just a week. If you start your trial before June 30th, free year of custom email and business tools on a professional or business plan. Squarespace, build it beautiful. I don't know, Matt, do you have anything you want to share with us? You always have something cool going on.
I do. So if you listened to Twig a week or so ago, somebody mentioned Google Contributor.
Yes.
And the idea behind Google Contributor is that you can give Google, $1, $3, $5, $10 a month, and then instead of seeing ads, Google will bid on your behalf. And so if I, for example, have seen 4,000 less ads because I'm using Google Contributor.
What?
And I think at the time,
that's nice.
Leo said, this is great, but it only applies for 9 or 10 sites. And
right.
It started out with an initial number of partners, But my understanding is that Google Contributor now works through the Google Display Network, and so literally millions of sites can be supported by this. So, for example, it's kind of neat. You can see the sites you've contributed to, and Leo, you talked about amusing ourselves to death. I've actually given over $6 to Imager because I enjoy browsing Imager when I'm going to bed at night. But I've also given, a quarter to the Washington Post, 30 cents to Vox.com, 16 cents to Mobile.
And so you won't see the ads on those sites because you donate?
That's right. And in fact, you can replace, this is the power user feature, you can replace the ads with any custom HTML like iframe that you want. Oh. So I have a little thing that shows a little Mondrian piece of artwork.
Oh, that's nice.
And every time I see it, it makes me happy because I'm like, oh, I'm supporting this. But you could make it kittens, you could make it your to-do list.
Oh, I like
you
that.
can specify a URL and it will fold that in. And so right now I think there's an invite list, but my hope is over time they'll have that to the point where everybody can participate relatively quickly. So if you thought that it was only for 9 or 10 sites, it's not. Anywhere that can basically display, I don't know if it's display AdSense or use the Google Content or Display Network, but essentially there are tons of sites where you can give $1 to $10, whatever a month, and it will take that and give that directly to the publishers. And so it's exactly the sort of thing you want to support.
This is a great answer to people who complain about ads on the web. We've had lots of debates about ad blocker technology, and I've always said, you got to consider when you're blocking ads that you're kind of using the site's resources without paying them, and so that's not acceptable. So this is a great alternative. If you don't want to see, it's kind of like an ad blocker, but if you don't want to see ads, you can support the site instead.
Yeah.
Do they set the amount of contribution ahead of time, like each site, or?
I don't know whether it's you look at the number of impressions per month and then you divvy up the pie, whether it's $5 you give a month or whatever, or whether it only bids as little as it needs to so that you see, your pretty picture or kittens rather than the ad. It might do that instead. I'm not 100% sure.
And does this
over and over?
And does this? How much does Google keep, or how does it work?
I don't know. I would assume that it's a minority and the majority goes to.
I wonder if it's
the
same ratio of the ads.
But I suspect it's. I have no idea, but it's probably along the lines of AdSense or something like that.
Right.
But over and over again, you hear the phrase, if you're not paying for it, then you're the product.
Right.
And on one hand, I hate that because it's it's more like just a sound bite. But on the other hand, hey, now you have the ability to pay and have that money go straight to the publisher. And $6 for Imager is not nothing if you have millions of users who are all paying to not see the ad. So give it a check out. I think they're getting to the point where you can almost invite someone and they'll be able to join pretty quickly. So it's worth in the next few weeks.
You mean as a reader or join as a
You
site?
need an invitation to do it.
Right now it's invite only. Yeah, but I've got like 5 invites. I'm happy to invite people, but it's
well, that should cover everybody who listens to this show. We're set.
Right.
I'll take
in an ideal world, they'd be able to get rid of that invite system. I hope they're working on that, but it really is. It makes you feel good because you see this little piece of art or a kitten, and you know that you're helping a publisher.
This is really a great solution.
I would actually like to have one because I want to experiment with new business models. So I'll take one.
This makes a lot of sense. Instead of running ad block and basically using content against the publisher's will for free, you can make a deal that everybody's happy, and you don't see that awful
instead of a paywall,
or instead of a paywall.
Blendle model is okay. I'll pay 25 cents or whatever. Well, okay, maybe, but you're also probably going to lose some audience. I think I mentioned when we had this discussion 2 weeks ago that the Guardian has found that when they put their membership pitch to people who have used ad blockers, the guilt helps increase the yield on membership.
Right.
And I think there's an opportunity. In the long run, I'll be curious about the economics of this because what you care about in the end is what we call sonorously ARPU. Revenue per user.
Oh, okay.
And you want your, what's the relative ARPU of showing somebody a whole bunch of junky 5-cent CPM ads versus getting N dollars a month from a loyal user? What's the relative loyalty that causes? I don't know what the answer is. I suspect contributor this thing will be less, but maybe not.
And if you're somebody that bemoans the loss of Circa, well, there's a reason why services like Circa have to go away. They cannot do it in a financially viable manner.
And the nice thing is when you have a publisher who would show an ad and you instead have a user who has Google Contributor, you are guaranteed that the publisher will get, like a penny more or a fraction of a cent more, because you are by definition paying what it takes to outbid the people who would programmatically want to show you ads.
Oh,
right?
I see. So your ARPU is higher for that
you
page.
Exactly. You take part in the auction, as I understand it, and you bid from this pool that you contribute each month in order to win, and so that you'll not see the ad.
Oh,
I like it.
That's very
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people confuse the fact that it started out with a small set of sites as like, this is a limited thing.
I did.
But it was one of these like Fi where they want to start slowly and make sure that it makes sense and test out, kick the tires before they roll it out more broadly.
They need to do a better job of explaining which sites do this, because they only show 6 on the webpage. So
totally. Absolutely.
It's kind of unclear. So I'd like to know. This is good. So it's now millions. That's really great. Yeah, I'll sign up for that. People often say, well, Leo, why is it you show sites like The Verge and don't use an ad blocker? For the same reason, I would hope you wouldn't skip through our ads. This is what pays for the content you're looking at. And when I show a site, I'm not going to block the ads, even though I'm showing it on our stream. Oh, by the way, that's my tip of the week. The premiere of Mr. Robot, which is many of us have talked about it already, because they put first of all, they made a fabulous site. If you go to whoismrrobot.com, it is, it's changed now. That's too bad. That's too bad. This was a really fun kind of, here it is. Here's the boot screen that you get when you have to dig a little farther now that the show is launched. But it's a hacker show. It's and the technology in it is pretty accurate. It's about a young hoodie-wearing.
It's pretty amazing.
Hacker is a black hat and gets kind of involved with a hacker group that seems to be trying to change the world for the better. You liked it, Jeff?
Yeah, I did. I watched the first episode. Well, the great thing is I discover I'm finding that Google Play is a discovery mechanism for new shows.
Yeah.
The other one that I just watched is Unreal. Have you watched that one?
No.
Oh, it's fictional, but behind the scenes in a reality TV Bachelor-like show with really mean TV people.
Oh, it's about reality television. I love it.
Yeah, and like the first 4 episodes are free on Google Play.
I'll be watching that.
Really good. This episode from Mr. Robot is also free, last I knew.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's all over the place for free. This is, I'm going to be watching it, and I'll be taping it, I guess, or whatever it is the kids do today instead of taping. Have you seen Sense8 on a new Netflix original?
No.
It's from the Wachowskis, and it's really interesting. Boy, but what's most interesting to me is the production values are feature film level. And the locations are all over the world. Very clearly very expensive to make. And it just shows you Netflix is really coming of age in terms of its production capabilities. I mean, first of all, you're hiring the Wachowskis, who created The Matrix and Cloud Atlas. It reminds me a little bit of Cloud Atlas. It's really beautiful. I'm not sure what the plot's going to be about. I think it seems to be about 8 telepaths who somehow can sense each other. They don't know who. Suddenly they start sensing each other all around the world. And I think it's really well done. But what's, to me, interesting is the production value of it. Incredible. What do you got for us, Mr. J?
Well, there's something related to bets, which is Pando. Pando Daily just started a $10 membership pitch.
Oh.
Which, and you get the content early. You can also make things public. I don't fully understand it all. But she says, Sarah Kuda says that she's unlikely to get more VC money. So
this was very famously started with VC money, and after the failure of GigaOM, I think a number of people are wondering, is there a future to VC-backed journalistic enterprises? Maybe not. She's going to charge a membership fee, just like Jessica Lesson does at The Information.
But it's you get it early. She gave a good screed on Twitter. Sarah did, being against paywalls, and paywalls don't work for the journalists, don't work for the public. So this is like.
So she'll still, it's freemium, so she'll still offer a free version.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And you can make things public and free and so on. By the way, the number actually should be 27.
What's that?
The number of dead ants around here.
I'm telling you.
Just watched with some glee because they're bad ants. They're ants with wings. So
I'm telling you, he's the tailor of Teaneck, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff Jarvis.
I just saw a spider came down and did it in one of the ants for me. Thank you, Spider. Charlotte. We like Charlotte.
Jeff's
Some
professor.
pig.
Yeah, professor of journalism at the City University of New York. Great guy. Buzzmachine.com. Get his book. The latest is Geek Sparing Gifts. There's also Gutenberg the Geek, the Kindle single, Public
Enemy of
Parts,
Ants.
and soon a book about ants. Dr. Mom says those could be termites, Jeff. Are they?
No, they could be. There could be something like that, and that's why we're calling the exterminators.
Get them out there. We can't do the show from inside a tent, I just want to say.
Oh.
No. Mr. Matt Cutts, always a thrill to have you. MattCutts.com/blog, at Matt Cutts on the Twitter. He's on the beach and enjoying every moment of it.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a ton of fun today.
I had so much
Always
fun.
fun,
It's
Matt.
always
Always
you're the
love having you
greatest.
here.
You give this show some dignity.
Actually, we want you to quit Google so you can be on this.
We do. We do. You have a standing offer.
No one can replace Gina.
I mean,
no
let
one
me
can
see.
replace Gina.
I have a $100 bill. It could be you. It could be yours.
You know what? I'll bet Leo would get you a Pixel.
I'll get you a Pixel. I'll get you. You want a Pixel? I got you a Pixel.
Leo takes good care of people.
It's great to see you, Matt. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We do This Week in Google Wednesday afternoons, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 2000 UTC at twit.tv. You can also watch on demand, twit.tv/twig. And I hope you enjoy the new site. We're still working on it.
Site's great. Site's great.
I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
Worth every penny, eh?
You're not seeing all the money on the screen because a lot of the expense. People say, "Why don't you use Squarespace?" Because this site is actually the top layer of a huge API written in Drupal that is part of our workflow. The editors start when this show is done. The editor edits it and then goes into Drupal where the workflow goes, and the Drupal handles how things get encoded, where things go. It's all done automatically. That was the expense. So you don't even really see it. And in fact, we've got a public API, and we're inviting anybody who wants to create a new website or 100 websites. Let 1,000,000 websites bloom, or little snippets, whatever you want to do. The API is very rich, very powerful, and you can find out more.
You will control licenses to it, right?
Well, no. What we'll do is you need, as you always do with an API, you'll need an API key, which we will freely give you.
But if somebody misbehaves,
yeah, we could. So it goes through. It goes through a site called 3Scale. I'm sure Matt knows about it. And what 3Scale does is gives us metrics on each developer's, each key. And if somebody's using 8 million hits a day on the site, well, obviously we're going to pull the plug on them because we can't support it. But nobody would. I mean, the nice thing about this is we don't put out shows every minute. It's more like every 5 hours. So I don't anticipate a whole lot of traffic to do. Like, for instance, what the website does is it's not very burdensome. So I'm excited. I mean, I'm going to start writing. People have always asked us for years. I just want to download every single episode of a show. And we just don't do that. RSS feeds are not designed to have hundreds of shows in them. They would be massive. RSS feeds are just to tell you, here's the new show, here's the new show, here's the new show. But we could easily do a one-liner in almost any web programming language to download every show, every episode of a show, or there's all sorts of notify you when a new show's available, things like that. All of that's through the API. More information at twit.tv. If you click the button that says Learn More, we describe all of the behind-the-scenes machinations, and we have a link. You can also email API at twit.tv, and we'll get you hooked up. We're just about to do that. Just about to do that. We had a few last changes to the API, a few more things we wanted to put in. The documents are on Apiary, apiary.io. Just Google Twit and Apiary. You should be able to find those pretty quickly. Thank you, everybody. Very nice to see you all, and we'll see you next time. I won't be here, actually. I should explain. I'm going on vacation for 3 weeks. Who's hosting Twig? Mike Elgin next week.
Elgin next week and the week after. And then the third week is moi.
And Jason Howell, our producer, will host, which is as it should be. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then I'll be back on, I think it's July 22nd, whatever that Wednesday is that week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Matt. Thanks to you for joining us. We'll see you next time. on Twig. Bye-bye. Thank you, Jason, our great producer.